Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitball, and I'm here with my good buddy,
Kyle Amundsen.
And today we have Abby Geotz in the house. How you doing, Abby?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, you guys. I really appreciate this.
Well, you are welcome. You're welcome. Before we get going too far here, I just need to point this little piece of spermie out here. So my coworker Megan likes to do like thrift store shopping and like antique shopping or whatever, and she found like a whole like shit pile of old Star Wars stuff.
Nice.
At this, so I got to go up there and check it out. It's in Crosby. I can't remember. She told me what it was called, but she just saw this and just had to get it for me, and it's just really cool because it moves.
Jabba.
Is it an antique store or a thrift store?
I think it's kind of like, I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know, but they have a bunch of Star Wars shit.
Interesting.
And I'm sure the Hutts will come up in The Mandalorian, which we talk about every week. And by the time, let's see, it'll be on, what is it, Tuesday night, Tuesday the 12th. So that's really looking forward to that. Super excited. No, really, are you, Kyle? Because you're bringing it up all the time. Yeah, that's all I talk about.
Okay, now it definitely looks like Jabba is coming out of Abby's hair. I love it.
Yay.
Perfect.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a giant sperm coming out of your hair. It's totally fine.
There's something about Mary.
So, Abby, you the reason that we talked originally about having you on the show today is
November's abortion month.
I think it's adoption month.
It is.
It is.
It's National Adoption Awareness Month.
I'm pretty sure it's also abortion month.
This year, Saturday, November 23rd, is National Adoption Day.
Okay.
Which is a special day they set aside for kids from foster care who are being adopted. They do special adoptions that Saturday just for that.
Huh. And you have kind of a fucking crazy story.
I do.
That involves adoption.
I like crazy stories.
I do. So as most of you know, I'm adopted. I was adopted when I was 18 months old, and I started out as a foster child. So do you want me just to
dig
right in?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Did you have like a tough background before that? Were you like living on the streets, getting in all kinds of trouble, into drugs, stuff like that?
When she was 18 months old?
Yes.
Yeah, she was
I wasn't.
She was an infant heroin
but my
addict.
caretakers may have been.
I know some tough kids, man.
So, I mean, we're talking late 1970s. I wasn't like your traditional adoption back then where like, woman got pregnant, didn't want the baby, so she gave it up right away.
Right. Leaves it on the doorstep of a...
fire station or something. Yeah. No, that wasn't me. No, my mom took me home, wanted to raise me, thought that she was going to have this great life with her new baby. She married a guy who was not my biological dad. And he was in the Navy out in Whidbey Island in Washington State, and they were raising me. She went out one night with some friends, left me home alone with him. He apparently had a history of abuse and violence, both as an abuser and an abused child. And he called her at this friend's house at like 10:30 that night and said, "You have to come home. There's something wrong with the baby." So she comes home, and I was in the crib, not moving. My head was misshapen. And so she called the ambulance, and they took me to the local hospital on Whidbey Island. And then I was airlifted to, I think it's Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
Where there was a major hospital. But what happened was I was crying. He couldn't he couldn't console me.
So you were a brat.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
So he brought his mag light in the bedroom to check on me and beat me over the head with it until I stopped crying.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever apologize to him for fucking up his night like that?
He tried to get me to.
No fucking way.
I'm not even kidding.
People are fucking weird, man.
Right?
Whew. So then that was it. They removed you from custody.
Yep. They put me in. I was in the hospital for over a month. I had a traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
Massive bleeding on the brain. I was deaf in one ear. It was a pretty serious thing for a 3-month-old to go through. And then they placed me in foster care back in my home county. Well, the people who eventually became my parents had already been doing foster care for a number of years, and they had several special needs children. And so they immediately contacted them. she came up to the hospital where I was before they released me to learn how to take care of me and like do the aftercare, and brought me home. And when I was 6 months old, my bio mom came to see me for the last time, brought me some presents. It was around Christmas time, and told my foster mom when she was leaving that she was never coming back. That was going to be the last time she saw me. So, and then they reached out to my bio dad. He was recently out of the Navy, couch surfing, didn't have a place of his own, and said he didn't think he could handle the care that would be involved with raising what they thought was going to be a special needs child at the time. So
Right.
he signed over his rights as well.
So, I mean, that's pretty crazy. And I actually think we talked a little bit before about how I'm such a narcissist that but I remember there was quite a while ago you were working on writing a book.
Yep.
And I think you still are, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. And we were kind of, I don't know, you were going to do a Kickstarter thing. And
Yep.
so I remember hearing part of the story, but I didn't realize that it was that crazy.
It's pretty fucking like, that's kind of amazing. You know, like good beginning on that story.
So
Yeah.
So far, it's a page turner.
Right.
do you have ongoing like health things because of that early injury?
Not now. I
Really?
did.
Huh.
I did. And honestly, I've had a lot of MRIs and stuff done because I have some other neurological problems.
Oh, we're gonna get
And
into that.
they've shown me the scar tissue from where the injury happened.
From the traumatic brain injury.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's probably because I mean traumatic brain injury. It's such a roll of the dice, you know, because some people can have. I remember I kind of grew up with a family called the O'Neill family, who you knew well, and their dad, Podge was his name, got into a hell of a car wreck, and he had a traumatic brain injury, and he was fucked. I mean, he was in a wheelchair. He couldn't feed himself, like had to have his diapers changed and shit. Yet he would still answer every fucking Jeopardy question, period.
Yeah.
He would just sit there in his wheelchair, smoke cigarettes, and go like, orange lemonade, or whatever it was. And it was so bizarre because that part of his brain was still right there.
Yeah.
And yet he couldn't feed himself or change his diet, or use the bathroom or whatever. So it's like, man, that's like, I was like, fucking traumatic brain injuries are crazy. But I probably, I'm assuming because you were so young, you
Correct.
still had enough stem cells and whatever. I mean, I'm obviously a scientist, so
Obviously.
but you were able to actually like make a full recovery though. at
Yeah,
that point.
so a neurologist I've seen in my adult life actually explained it to me really well. He said that the infant brain is still relatively plastic.
Right.
And like the folds in your brain haven't fully formed yet, especially in the prefrontal cortex, which is where the injury happened. So
Okay.
he said that part of my brain really wasn't even molded yet.
Right.
So it just kind of grew around the scar tissue and still developed normally and just kind of accepted the scar tissue as part of its map. So
That's absolutely amazing.
yeah.
Well, if you've ever fought a baby, they're surprisingly tough. That's
Yeah.
probably part of the deal.
Well, and they bounce.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Not girls, not as much, but those boys, man, you can just dribble them. So you ended up being raised by this foster family that kind of I
Yeah.
mean, you would say they became your, you call them mom and dad. They were like your.
Oh, absolutely. So I was 6 months old when my parents terminated their rights for me. And part of the reason why my mom decided to do it was because there had been a trial with her husband, and they told her that he was never allowed to have contact with me again. So basically, she was given a choice to stay with him or
Seems
to leave
completely
him
unreasonable.
and take me back. And she said she couldn't leave him. She had to stay. So she opted to give me up instead.
Yeah. Seems like a solid plan. Though.
Was she like, that sounds like somebody that like got beat too, like that sounds like something that a person that's, in that like pattern of like abuse and stuff would do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's really like kind of an instinctual thing. Like, I know that not everybody has, is like wired the same, and not everybody has the same instincts. But like for anybody to choose, like anyone over their child, it seems kind of strange to me, you know, like that would like that goes kind of like it would kind of go against biology and stuff. But I know, like I said, not everybody's wired the same. And
well, and I mean, we are in a time period
that's also true
of privilege where we, you know, we get the gift of being able to like be good parents and love our children without all of the adversity that was that's been faced by cultures throughout history, where, you know, I mean, you know, there's many cultures where if you
this thing is broken, throw it out, you know,
right? Or, yeah, exactly.
Sure.
This thing's broken, throw it out. Or fuck, we can't have another girl, we need a boy, or vice versa. You know, go whack it against a tree. Now that seems so incredibly wrong, and I'm not saying it's right, but it's also, we're at a place now where we can kind of stand in judgment of that kind of thing, and that hasn't always been the case, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure.
You had me at go whack it against a tree.
Right.
So my foster parents, though, they already had 6 children. They were, my mom was 39, my dad was 36. So in the eyes of a 1978 court system, they were old. They were too old to start raising an infant, was the opinion of both the social services agency and the court system. So they actually once, so just to backpedal a little bit, they found out that the plan from social services at the advice of doctors was to institutionalize me for life. Because they thought that I would be a high functioning vegetable, is how they put it.
Huh.
So,
and I mean, you are a super high functioning vegetable.
Super high, yeah.
Right? Kudos.
Right? I know.
Your giraffe pussy.
I've done
high.
pretty well. So they
I'm a
actually
fat
had to
kid. I was
hire a
thinking about
lawyer.
vegetables. I'm like, carrots, onions, yeah.
But they actually had to hire a lawyer and fight to be able to adopt me.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And it took a year. And finally, when I was 18 months old, they were granted the adoption.
Huh. And then, were they too old to raise you then?
Well, my dad did die when I was 14.
Oh, so yeah, they should have known. But they were good parents.
Very, very.
And so do we want to jump ahead to like when you next seen your mom?
Sure. I mean, I can just fill in just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, like I can't even remember the first time they told me I was adopted.
Oh, okay.
It was just something I always knew.
Okay.
Like they just raised me like, yep, you are our adopted child, you know, whatever. And it wasn't something I ever thought was strange.
Right.
I never thought that there was anything wrong with it. The youngest of my siblings is 11 years older than me. And she was extremely jealous of the fact that my parents had adopted this new baby. And so she would tease me and say, oh, haha, you're adopted, things like that. And I'm like, yeah, but they got stuck with you. They got to pick me. So, And she hated that. She'd run to my mom crying. And my mom's like, well, stop teasing her.
You said she was 11 years older than you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. You should know better than
Right.
being the jerk like that.
Right.
You're 11 years older. That's just pathetic.
Yeah. You just got zinged by a infant.
Yeah.
You know?
And so then the remaining health issues I had seizures until I was 7, like grand mal
wow.
seizures. Yeah,
Okay.
I was on seizure medication. I was on phenobarbital, which now we know is awful. And maybe why I have some of the health problems I do now, I don't know. But, and shortly after I was 7, the seizures just stopped. Like I just never had another one. And they, about a year later, they took me off the seizure medication, and I haven't had a seizure since then. And the last time my mom took me down to the U of M, and when I say mom and dad, I mean like my adoptive parents.
Right.
When she took me down to the U of M for one of my last visits with the neurologist who had followed me after we moved to Minnesota, he told her that their opinion at that time was I probably could have been an Einstein, but now I would just be a genius.
Wow.
That was the effect of the brain injury.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Huh.
So
You know,
thanks
and-
for that, because
Yeah.
I could have been way smarter than I am.
Good job, you dick with a flashlight.
Right.
That'd just be a burden, you know, being super smart.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the
we
way it
talk
looks.
about it a lot. I mean, like you don't get to roll. You know, you don't get to get that 20 in intelligence without getting the without taking some disadvantages.
Right. With that 3 charisma, you know.
So we're not talking about you, Jenkins. Yeah, we're talking about you, Jenkins. Okay, and then what happened?
So my parents continue to do foster care. In fact, my mom, who's 80 years old now, still does foster care right now. She just had a family of 3 that was with her for over a year that just went back to their mom. So she's still hitting it hard. And the county tried to do an estimate one time of how many foster kids she's had over the years. And they said just since she's been licensed in Crow Wing County, which was in 1980, and this was 8 years ago that we found this statistic, she has had over 750 different foster kids.
Wow, that's crazy.
Man. Yeah. But anyways, we had these foster kids when I was in 6th grade, and this boy and girl, they were about my age, and we used to play outside all the time. Well, the girl and I didn't really get along, and one day I was out in my fort, and she comes out there, and she said, you weren't put up for adoption because your parents didn't want you. It was because you got beat over the head and they threw you away. And I was like, what are you even talking about? And she said something to that effect again. And I'm like, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I know my adoption story, and this has never been brought to my attention. And she's like, well, it's because your mom doesn't want to tell you, but you were supposed to be retarded. And so I hit her with a skateboard, and she went in the house and cried. And so then my dad comes walking out. And he's like, Abby, you need to come in the house. And I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble, whatever. So I go in the house and I sit down. They brought me down to our den, which we never did anything down there. And they brought me down, and on the table, my mom had like newspaper clippings and paperwork all in this file that she had spread out. Oh. And I'm like, what is this? And the newspaper article was from the trial of my, whatever you want to call him, my mom's husband, and talked about the beating and the punishment, the very little punishment that he got, and all of that. And she's like, this is what really happened. This is why we adopted you.
So up to that point, you just thought you were put up for adoption. And
I thought it was the typical young teenage parents couldn't raise a baby.
And you did what did you think was causing the seizures or any of that? Did you have any idea what
I
was
never
going
questioned
on?
it.
It was just, that's something I have.
Yeah, and I was young when I grew out of them, and
I guess 7. You don't really. I mean,
it wasn't something I ever questioned. So.
So how old were you at this point?
12.
Okay, so seizures has been over for a few years, and so how did this little what's her name? Bitch get? How did she find out about it? Like, how did she know that?
So that was my first question. Is like, why do Jesse and Jason know about this? And my mom and Jesse had supposedly been abused by her mom. And so my mom had told her this as kind of like a, see, you can overcome these kind of things type of a thing. Well, so then I call my childhood best friend, and I'm relaying this information to her over the phone, and she gets really quiet. And I'm like, Melissa, are you there? And she's like, I already know about this.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Your mom was sitting there telling everybody?
And I said, what do you mean you already know about this? She's like, my mom told me this back in 3rd grade when you started coming over to spend the night. So I find out through the grapevine that my mom has not only not told me this information, she has literally told everybody else in my life and told them to keep it a secret from me.
Wow.
That is what pissed me off.
Well, right.
And that's what shattered the trust, that like blind trust that you have in your parents, you know, and it was like, I can never trust these people again.
I do think it's and I mean, I'm in no position to offer advice, but that's never stopped me. I do think it's good and important though for kids that are adopted to I always think that's a bad choice to like withhold that information and let those kids believe that they are biological.
Yes.
And then later on down the road be like, oh yeah, not your dad. That's why you're black. And
you know, something that's been happening a lot lately is with these DNA testing kits.
Right.
People, like, for a Christmas present, they buy all their siblings a DNA testing kit, and all of a sudden the mom's like, oh no, we can't take these. And it's like, why? Because your uncle is actually your dad.
That's legit.
It's literally happened a lot.
I know someone that like that happened in their family and shit.
Yeah.
They're like, what is this fucking mean? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Man, I remember when I was like 16, and I'm not gonna say who this person was. I don't even know if I want to tell this story because it might. Well, I'm gonna try to make it very generic. A person who I knew, who I was very close to, got into a fight with his mom, and his mom said to him, you know, it was over. It was something about his dad, and his mom said to him, "Well, he's not even your father." And I was like, "What the fuck?" You know, whatever. And then he was really upset, you know. And then he's like, comes to me and he says, "Will you go and ask my dad?" And I'm like, "What?
Wow.
Fuck? No, I won't."
yeah, there's a comfortable question.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
So I do.
Yeah, you motherfucker.
I fucking go and I sit down and I like.
Okay, Maury.
No, I was pretty close to his family, and I was pretty close to his dad as well. So like, but I was 16 years old, you know, and I was like, "Hey, I got to talk to you." "Yeah, what's up, man?" You know, I'm sure he thought I was going to ask him for money, and then I was like, "Are you so and so's father?" And he's like, "That fucking bitch."
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. So I hope I didn't
Yikes.
put too much out there because that's not my story to tell. But yeah, so that sucks.
But yeah, that's a sentiment that I tell everybody is you don't keep these kind of secrets. You don't paint this life that isn't real. And if you are going to keep the secret, you better make sure it's in a vault buried deep somewhere.
Well, I think it's a good idea to like let children know that, you know, that like, just like you said, you grew up always knowing your mom and dad were your adopted mom and dad, but that didn't make any difference to you.
No, it really
But
didn't.
On the other side of it, not knowing that there was this
The backstory.
abuse.
Yeah.
And then, and I mean, once you found out, you had to be like, well, that makes sense why I've had fucking seizures.
Correct.
With me, it would have to be if somebody was going to drop that bomb on me, they'd have to be like, "That's not your real mother. That's not your biological mother." If you've ever seen a picture of my dad, it would just be futile.
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Right. That's not your biological father. Yeah, it is.
I had somebody tell me, they're like, what the hell did he say? A friend was like, man, for all the from all the genes you got from your mom, you could have just dated in a fucking shoebox.
You guys, I like the pictures of you guys. They look exactly alike.
Well, and it's funny when you're growing up and you know you're adopted, I get told all the time, "Oh, you and your sister look so much alike," or "You look just like your mom," or "You just look just like your dad." And I just say, "Yeah, thanks."
Yeah. What do you're going to go around correcting people? all
I
the
don't
time?
need to go into a 20-minute explanation of why I don't. So
Yeah.
That's
it's like,
weird.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
yes,
people,
she is
I
also
think
a human
people
being
see
with
what
a
they
head
want to
and
see.
2 arms and 2
Correct.
legs.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, at 12, that's kind of a really pivotal time in development.
For sure.
And to have like your whole trust in your parents just shattered.
Right at the beginning of all the weird shit.
Right. And honestly, the trust in my friends too, because it's like, what kind of friends are you that you kept a secret about me from me? Like,
Right.
I didn't really feel that was okay either. I felt betrayed by literally pretty much everybody in my life at that point.
It's kind of impressive, though.
She did a great job of weaving this web and
Right?
it not getting back to me until this asshole foster kid decided to drop bombs one day. So
you recover from that, right?
I did.
And then 2 years later, your dad passes
2
away.
years later, my dad died
So
very
that's kind
suddenly.
that's kind of like a jab cross right there.
That was by far, I mean, I'm 41 now. It was by far the most traumatic thing I've ever been through in my life.
Yeah.
Like nothing has ever, and I hope nothing ever does, but nothing has ever
And this is
compared
coming
to
from
that
somebody who was
moment.
beat with a flashlight.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like my earth shattered. Like people say, like I know there's a movie where the guy's wife cheats on him and he's like, hang on a second, there's a crack in the earth right now and I just need a second to recover from that. That's how I felt the day my dad died. It was like the earth cracked in half and ceased to exist in its normal state.
Because even though like he was party to keeping this secret from you, it seems to me like you placed the blame squarely upon your.
Well, and I'm not saying my dad was right in doing this, but he pulled me aside and said that he never felt okay with keeping the secret, and he certainly didn't feel okay with her need to share it with everybody else.
Right.
So that kind of rebuilt some of the trust I had
Right.
in my dad and made me put more of the blame on my mom.
Right. Right. Plus, like she lived. So it's also hard to it's hard to not forgive the dead
Yeah.
too. That
Yeah.
is, I think, a real thing. So,
Yeah.
so okay, I'm glad I did this. This was super happy. All right, we'll see you guys next time. So this story, even though it is tragic, does have some, well, at least say interesting turns. So eventually you get through your teen years and you that's about, it was a little later than that when I met you, and probably you were still
I was 19.
Oh, you're 19?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Stephen was a baby.
Oh yeah, you'd already had Stephen.
I
That's
had, but
right.
he was a baby.
That's right, yeah.
An interesting fact about that, the day Stephen was born, and I remember distinctly thinking this, he was the first biological relative I ever met.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
It was literally the first time I could look into somebody's eyes and be like, wow, they look like me. They share DNA with me. And that doesn't seem significant.
Unless
but
you
when
don't
you're
have
growing
it.
up, never knowing that, it was a very significant moment.
So you didn't ask for a blood test or anything to make sure
No.
it was yours? Okay.
No, I had just pushed him out. I was pretty sure he came from me.
It was this or that basketball over
Right?
there. Pretty sure it's this.
So, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that Stephen was already born when I met you. But
He
so you
was.
started coming into the eclectic back in the day.
I did. Should I tell that story?
Oh,
That's
I don't
a
know
fun
which
story.
one, which part. Oh my God.
So Stephen's dad and I didn't stay together, and so I was a young single mom and kind of in turmoil of what do I do with my life? I have no
I am
social life.
So curious what story you're going to tell.
And
I was
I
going
was
to say, this is the part of the story that usually is awesome.
I was going to what was actually, I think, still Brainerd Community College back then. I don't think it had made the official shift at that point.
BCC.
Yeah, so I was going to BCC, and I had met this group of friends there, and they went to the Remnant Ministry Center.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so
Yeah.
they invited me to come to youth group. I grew up going to youth group, so I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great way to make friends. Well, I had seen the eclectic, and this group of friends is like, ooh, you don't go in there. They play D&D. They're all Satan worshipers. Like, we stay away from the eclectic. And I was both
How do they know so much about us?
confused, right? I was
Right.
both confused, scared, and intrigued. Like, I wanted to know more. Like, who are these people? And the original eclectic decor was a little dark, so
Totally.
it kind
Yeah,
of
it was
fit.
like gray.
Yeah, it kind of fit the picture they were trying to paint.
That absolutely reminds me of what I used to tell people, like especially when you're younger, like the greatest thing anybody can ever say to a girl about you: stay away from him, girl. He's no good.
Exactly. And they're like, I got to get me some.
So we went Christmas caroling downtown. Like, we went in all the bars, Christmas caroling. That was a great idea. And we stopped at the eclectic, and one of the boys pulled the door open, and he's like, don't go all the way in. We'll just stand out here and sing. And you came out, and you were like super nice. You're like, oh, thanks for stopping by, guys. Have a great day, and all that.
Really? Man,
Yeah.
have I changed.
Right? Hail Satan.
Well, but I mean, man, have I changed? Because I don't think these days, if somebody tried to Christmas carol me, I would probably not be as nice. I don't think. But okay.
Oh, sure you would. It's wonderful.
So the next day, I went in. For the first time, and I didn't drink coffee, so I had no reason to be in this place. I still don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee.
We had more than
I had-
coffee.
So caroling was your gateway.
Caroling was my gateway to the eclectic, which was the gateway to
To devil worship.
yeah. I remember Matt sitting me down one day, and he's like, if all of your friends are going to hell, why would you want to go to heaven? And I'm like, you make a good point. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was what you were going to tell?
Yeah, that's
Okay, good.
that was
That was a pretty safe story. All right, good.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
good.
No, the weird shit came afterwards.
That's what I was like. Abby knows a little too much about my life, so maybe.
I wasn't going to go there.
We
No,
probably will
this-
go there, but-
Maybe. No, it was a very, vanilla.
And then
story.
you really like. I mean,
I was
and,
a regular.
and that happens so often at the eclectic. It just people would just come and then they would just never leave.
Yeah.
Like, you would just kind of become part of the family. And even if you were kind of fucking weird, like we had some fucking weird guys, not even just guys, but people that would come in, but they would just keep coming in, and then pretty soon they were just part of the furniture. I mean, it didn't,
Well, and I don't want this to sound offensive, so I'm sorry if it does, but I was almost too normal to hang out at the Eclectic.
Yeah, you kind of were.
Because I was kind of preppy back then, and like, more of the clean cut kind of person, and I really didn't fit in there at all.
Right. Andy Puchko. Do you guys know, do you
I do
remember
know
Andy?
Andy, yeah. I still
I
talk
know
to
you
Andy
know
a lot.
But Andy is just a really interesting, but there's no way to slice it, weird guy. And he, not like a creepy weird.
No,
but
just different.
Very different.
Yeah.
And, but he just would come and sit there all day. He almost never said anything, and but then pretty soon he would start coming out of his shell and just. I mean, it was like this big dysfunctional family.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, in the original Eclectic, like you came in the front room, then you walked through the bar, then there was like the middle room where the computers were, and then there was the back room. And it seemed like the further back you went, the weirder the people got.
Absolutely, because the back room was the cigar lounge.
Yeah,
It's like Dante's fucking Inferno.
yeah, exactly,
Very much.
exactly.
Very
The
much,
four
yeah.
circles of the Eclectic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then, eventually, you end up getting? Well, I mean, you got married.
Oh, a lot of shit happened over the next, let's see, what would it be? 10, 11 years, probably.
But then you started getting into doing foster care.
Well, no, this was before that even. I think people always ask me, like, did you grow up wanting to find your biological family? And initially, no, I had no interest in it. Like, I loved the family I had. There was nothing about them I needed to know. But after my dad died, that kind of shifted a lot. And I started to really get curious about that connection. And then when I was in college, I went to college for psychology. So I learned a lot about like the nature nurture thing. And I got more and more curious that I wanted to know these people. And, the internet was still fairly young at the time. There wasn't as much as there is now as far as information and being able to connect with people. But there was this adoption board, and you could go in and fill out like all of the information you knew about yourself and about each parent. And then if they also contacted, they could contact you.
Okay.
So I did that back in probably 2000, 99, 2000 was
Okay.
when I did that. And then when Haley was a baby, so this would be 2006, I got a letter. And it was from this woman from Georgia. And she said, I think I'm your biological grandmother. I found this post, which I didn't think the post was even still out there 6 years later, as much as the internet evolved and how fast it evolved.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
But she had stumbled upon it in a Google search for her daughter and found her name. And she writes me this letter and says, I think I'm your biological grandmother. I would really like to have a relationship with you. And that's kind of how it all started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Fucking amazing.
Right. And so
I mean, because you put that out there, and then you didn't actively pursue it after that.
I updated it a couple times just to have like current contact information, but that was really as much as I ever did with it. I mean, there was really no new information to add to it.
Sorry, I got to pull my space heater closer. I'm already freezing.
Keep it over there. I'm warm. Kyle puts off a lot of heat.
He
I
does.
am a fucking human furnace.
And the smell of onions. So this lady calls you out of the blue.
Yeah.
Or sends you a letter.
Yep. And then really oddly, about 6 months later, I get an email from some random guy that tells me that he's a search angel and that he had also found this same adoption post that I had posted back in like 2000 and said that he helps people connect with their biological family free of charge. Like, he doesn't charge you for it. And so I'm skeptical,
I'm
Right.
skeptical now.
Right.
I mean, after falling for that Nigerian prince thing, I
Yeah.
mean, you've got to be skeptical about this shit.
Basically, I'm like, well, you have the information that's already out on the internet that I've provided for the world to see. Do with it what you will. Tell me whatever you find out, but I'm not giving you any other information. Like, I'm not going to give you my social security number or anything like that, And within, I don't know, a couple months, he was finding people. And he literally is the reason that I've made every connection besides my biological grandmother.
So after your biological grandmother got a hold of you, did you write her back? Did you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We exchanged pictures. We exchanged emails. We wrote. We talked on the phone. I never actually met her. She passed away a few years ago. And she had a really weird story herself. She got divorced from her husband back in the 60s, and they had shared custody of my biological mom, and they lived in Iowa. And one weekend, he took my mom and took off, and she never saw them again. And my mom was 3 at the time, so it would have been like 63-ish. And she filed a report with the police, and they just said, we don't really get involved in custody issues, and that was the end.
Jeez.
And her husband, who would be my biological grandfather, was with the circus. So he traveled with the circus. So he had taken Debbie and fled the state, ended up leaving her at his sister's in Seattle for his sister to raise her.
Who, Debbie is
my mom, my biological
mom.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I guess I haven't said her name.
Oh, that's all right.
So he drops her off with his sister and leaves her. She never saw him again after that. And yeah, crazy, crazy.
And that explains why you're so fucking good at the trapeze. Like you got the circus people in your blood.
And the beard that you're so self-conscious about.
Yeah, right.
I keep thinking like with you working on this book, I keep wanting to be like, oh shit, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
there's more. There's layers. There's many layers.
Like an onion.
This
Yes.
this podcast could go on for like 40 hours.
It could.
We were going to get into the minutia.
I'm trying to just hit the high points.
Also, something. Well, I'm just going to say it right now. Like, this is a fucking ridiculously complicated and interesting story. But there's a lot of interesting and complicated stories out there.
Oh, for sure.
But you are an awesome writer. And that
thank you.
is what makes this story. This is why once this book gets done that you motherfuckers got to buy it because like I'm really all that interested in adoption stuff. I mean, I wasn't adopted, whatever. But I am interested in reading compelling stories by compelling people and like I've only read like the first 3 chapters of your book because I think that's what you had done when you started that adventure.
Yeah.
But those 3 chapters are fucking phenomenal.
Just one mag light away from being like a Tolstoy or something.
You know what I like about us, Kyle?
What?
Even though this is very sensitive and touching subject, we just haven't pulled a single fucking punch.
No, but I mean that's more
Feel free.
That's more of a credit to Abby than
I grew up being punched. So. No, I am not a sensitive person. I can take it.
Well, it's because we've known you for.
It's because I have a cold heart.
You always you mention that
all the time. Whenever Kyle talks about crying at a movie, it's like, suck it up, you fucking baby. Jesus Christ, it's just a movie.
Yeah, because you mentioned something about Rudy.
No,
you had
posted a meme of The Fox and the Hound.
Yes.
And I said I would be more inclined to cry at that movie than I would at The Notebook, but my cold heart still wouldn't let me.
Gotcha.
You didn't cry at The Notebook?
Never.
Are you a sociopath?
I might be.
Well, you did get hit in the head with a flashlight.
I know.
I feel like I'm actually from the feedback that we did get, like that's like the third. You're like the third woman that was like, and that was a significant chunk of the feedback that we got. You're like the third woman that was like, no.
Honestly, I saw it coming, and it wasn't that sad to me when it happened.
Like he was like, dude, that's this, whatever. So, speaking of crying at movies, you made some comment on my I put on my Facebook post or profile picture. It's me sleeping and Meta's in the background
Rudy.
taking a picture of me, and Kyle was like, "What did you say?"
Oh, because like
Did
she was
Meta take my
behind you like
advice?
this, and you had your eyes closed, and I'm like, did Meta take my advice?
I got what you were
And
saying.
I was and I was talking about
she made me watch Rudy.
This is the
I thought
advice.
I was asking if you had a thumb up your ass.
That's what you were asking.
And,
I didn't get it, but I was like, yes.
which
She
made it a
me
great
I
watch
have
joke
a funny
because
story
like
about a
to see one
thumb
of
up
Rudy's.
Matt's ass.
God damn it.
Share.
So
We'll get to
anyway, you
Stay
you
tuned.
start making some connections with your biological grandmother.
Yes.
And then you find this angel investor.
Yeah, well,
what
not an
they-
investor, a search angel is what he
Whatever.
called himself.
I would have
yeah.
went with,
yeah,
speaking
yeah.
of your grandmother.
Would have worked as well.
So he eventually leads me to the email address of my biological dad's ex-wife.
Okay.
And the thing is I really wanted to find my biological dad more than I did my mom, because I felt like he was less to blame
Right,
for
'cause
the outcome of how things went down.
I mean, he was like, honestly, was like, jeez. you aimed right for the fucking camera.
I'm for the tripod.
He was in a situation where he didn't think he was capable of taking care of you. Mm-hmm. And that's not, and he wasn't capable of taking care of
Well,
you.
and especially with the prognosis at the time. I mean,
yeah, you were
looking
supposed
at
to
a
be-
child who was going to be severely mentally and physically handicapped.
And
I
at
mean,
the
not
time,
many people would take that on in
and at the-
1978, 79.
Well, and it wasn't like he, was stably
Stable,
housed
correct,
and,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
had a,
absolutely.
had a bedroom available for him.
Right.
He was couch surfing.
Right,
So, I
right.
mean, I don't think it's the wrong decision to make to say I'm not capable of doing this. She has a good
Absolutely.
home to be at. I can step aside. I think that's an more honorable thing to do.
Well, and I had done some searching on my own, like as the internet progressed and things got more accessible. And it was easier to search for him because men don't change their name.
Right.
Where women do if they get married and things like that. So,
Unless we become Sting or
Well,
Prince or something like that.
but I felt fairly
definitely the
confident that I could find him based just on his name. And I had a few that matched the middle name and everything, but I never took that final step to make that phone call because my thought was always, this guy was really young. He probably went on and got married and had kids.
And you don't want
Do
to
I really want to
his-
blow up his life right now? Yeah.
Right, especially if he never told
Exactly.
his wife or whatever.
Exactly. It's like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to just drop in and
Right.
say,
It's like important
hey.
to you, but not important enough to like mess up another person's life.
Yeah.
So when did you mess up his life?
So the search angel guy found his ex-wife, reached out to her, sent her an email explaining who he was. She didn't want to talk to him, but she said that she would talk to me. So he gave her he asked me first and said, can I give her your contact information, which was just an email. He didn't have my phone number or anything. So I did. And I emailed her and she emailed me back and she said, can I call you? And I said, sure, here's my phone number. So I still remember this day so crystal clear. We were living over in Northeast. We had just moved up here from Mankato. And she calls me and she said, I'm really sorry to be the one to have to tell you this, but your dad passed away a few years ago.
Oh.
And I was only on the phone with her the first time for just a couple minutes because I couldn't keep it together. I hung up the phone. I went outside and I sat on the front steps and I cried, probably the hardest I've ever cried in my life. And Mike came out and he's like, what just happened? And so I told him.
Mike is Abby's husband.
Sorry.
So you told him you watched The Notebook.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I don't think The Notebook was out yet. Regardless, that wasn't it. Yeah. And I said, I feel like I just lost my dad all over again because after my dad died, part of like the comfort I felt was knowing I had another
There was
dad,
still a
out,
dad
there
out there.
that I
Right.
could find someday.
Right.
And once I finally brought myself to do this, he's gone now too.
Right.
And then once I was able to talk to her again, I found out that he had actually looked for me.
Oh.
He had told them about me like forever. He told her about me when they first got together. He told his kids about me and he always wanted to find me.
Huh.
And yeah,
Damn.
right? It was crazy.
This story sucks.
And so we actually flew out to Seattle a couple months later and met them, like met his whole family.
Met his ex-wife.
Met his
and-
ex-wife, his 3 kids,
Which
his
are
mom.
your siblings.
And his mom didn't know about me until that day.
Well, that had to be comfortable.
She didn't know.
So that's your grandmother.
So yeah, yep.
Your
yep.
other grandma. Oh,
Yep.
Jesus.
But she said it was funny because when I met her, we met in a mall food court out in Seattle. And she came and she brought me a lot of pictures of him that she gave to me, which was super cool. And she's like, Dale never told me about you, but I'm not surprised. Like, this was totally him. And I'm like, oh, great. And when my sisters met me, they're like, we don't need a DNA test. You look exactly like our dad.
Right. So that's pretty crazy. And so now you have a bunch of siblings out there that you would.
A bunch.
Yeah.
2 from him, one stepson that he had that he raised his whole life. So I consider him to be my half brother too. But, and then my bio mom went on to have many more children. And so after that, I started talking more to this search angel guy, and
because now this dude seems legit.
Right.
Right?
Like he's produced
Kind of
real
impressed.
results that
Yeah.
like actually panned out, and these people weren't like psychopaths.
Like, I
and-
want to start a GoFundMe and just like
Right.
send this guy money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. But anyways, so he starts like telling me he found he couldn't ever nail down my biological mom initially. She moves around a lot. But he found 2 of her ex-husbands. Not the guy who abused me. He did find him too, but he found 2 of her ex-husbands, both who she had had children with. And the one didn't want to talk to him at all. He's just like, nope, not interested. My kids don't want to know her. I don't care where she's at. Leave me out of it.
Okay.
Fair enough. The second guy was like, she was a really like troubled person. I wish nothing but good things for her. This is the information I have.
Okay.
And he actually directly mailed me pictures of her, which was the first time I had ever seen her in my life. And that was a cool day too, getting to just look at these pictures of my mother, because I had never seen her before. And so,
But you didn't have like the same expectations of like when you, with
like a warm fuzzy reunion.
right, because
No.
you kind of had that expectation with your bio dad.
That's what I hoped for with him.
right.
Yeah.
But now searching to find your mom, like that wasn't the
And her
you didn't go
following
in,
her path of destruction.
Yeah. No, by the time that we actually pinned down where she was, I knew enough about her that I had set my expectations in a real way. And really, the reason I continued to find her, I knew enough about her that I didn't really need to find her anymore to give myself information. I wanted to forgive her.
right.
Like, that was really why I wanted to find her. I wanted to hug her, tell her I had a good life, and that the choices that she made did not affect me, like, overall. Like, I was fine.
Probably panned out for you. I mean,
Way better.
obviously panned
Way
out
better.
for you,
Way better.
Because it doesn't sound.
I
mean,
hate to think of the shit show my life had been had she been able to keep me. Like, honestly,
yeah. Well, I mean, you might not have lived through it.
most likely I wouldn't have.
No, for sure not.
But had I would probably be a crack addicted hooker in Washington.
Yeah,
like, that would be my life. I'd
You had
be
to learn to bob and weave when you were
living
like
out of a
6 months old.
airport motel with all those SeaTac guys. Yeah, I don't know.
How many? So, just out of curiosity, you said like you found a couple of her ex-husbands. Was there? I mean,
She's been married 3 times.
okay, 3 times.
Yep.
All right, I was gonna say
Once
like how
to
many?
once to the guy that beat me, and then twice after that.
And
As
then-
far as I know, she's not married right now.
Do you know how many siblings there were?
There are, I just want to double check my math to make sure I get this right. There's 6 after me. So there's 7 total kids that she had, none of whom she retained custody of for more than a few years.
Man, and okay, that just kind of tell like because nowadays it's a little easier to like wrestle custody like away from a mother, but back in the day it
Yeah.
was no small feat, you know. So we're talking about just fucking up like.
Well, she had another,
God.
right. She had another kid with the guy, the abusive guy.
Because why wouldn't you?
And he was in the Navy, so he would go on 9-month cruises. She found out she was pregnant and had the baby all during one of his at-sea cruises. She gave the baby up to Catholic Charities before he ever got home and had somebody forge his signature on the adoption documents. Because she said knowing what happened with me, she could never put another child through that. But she didn't believe in an abortion, so she had the kid and secretly adopted it out before he came home. He didn't even know she was pregnant.
Which, okay, you know, like, considering
Good for
all the
her.
potential outcomes, you know, like, that seems, you know.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, when is National Abortion Month? If it's not October.
Man, I don't know.
Well, we need to
You
start
would
thinking.
think, right? It should be a thing. But, you know.
So when do you want to get into when you finally...
Sure. So, yeah, so I've had all this information, and then he finally finds what he thinks is the most recent location, and it's Grand Forks, North Dakota. Like, I always thought she was still out in Washington, Seattle, that area, you know, and it's like, she's literally 4 hours away. Like, this is crazy. And Facebook was a pretty big thing. I mean, this was 9-10 years ago. So he said she's on Facebook. I don't know how often she checks it, but here's her profile. So I sent her a friend request and a direct message. I probably refreshed my Facebook 500 times that first 24 hours, like seeing if she would
She'd
accept
seen
it.
or-
And-
yeah.
Well, he also was able to figure out who her roommate was, and he friended her on Facebook. And she apparently had a smartphone or a phone that could do internet, whatever they called them back then. It wasn't like they are now, and he was able to get her to respond to a message and said that he was trying to find Debbie. It was nothing bad, but you know, if you could pass along his contact information, he would appreciate it. So he talks to Debbie and gives Debbie my phone number. And I was driving home from a lunch at LSS one day, or not home, back to work. And my phone rings and it's a number I don't recognize. And I answer it. And she's like, "Hi, Abby, this is your mom."
And that is how your book starts.
Yeah.
And that was the scene, like, of you driving down the road.
Yeah.
And the phone rings and you turn your radio down, you answer it.
And it was the Thursday before Labor Day weekend. And I was headed like 371 to 210, like that intersection. It was crazy traffic. So here I am, like not even supposed to be talking on your phone, fumbling with my flip phone to answer it. And yeah,
It was still legal then, though.
it was, but
Flip
it was
phones?
messy.
So
Man.
And the second thing she asked me is, "Are you retarded?" I'm not even joking. That was the second sentence out of her mouth is, "So I got to know, are you retarded?" And I said, "No, I'm not." She's like, "Well, that's really good." So,
but I could have been a fucking genius.
right? If it wasn't for you. Yeah. So Mike and I drove up to Grand Forks the next day and spent the night in Grand Forks and met her.
I guess it's not that weird of a question. I mean, I probably asked my kids that 1,000 times.
Like, "Are you retarded?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get up to Grand Forks, and what's that like?
It was like,
I mean, we know
we
Grand
got a
Forks is a
hotel.
shithole.
I was going to say
Yeah.
it's a horrible drive.
Shit.
First time I've ever been to Grand Forks. Last time, well, no, I was there one more time. Anyways, we got a hotel room. She insisted we could stay with her, and I'm like, "No, I think we'll get a hotel room." I'm like, I think that's
Historically, that hasn't gone well for me.
right. And just the little bit I knew about her, like I didn't feel like I'd be comfortable staying at her house. So,
How many sailors are there?
yeah, right. And so she's like, "Well, we've got this big barbecue planned," and Mike and I went through drive-through on the way there.
Was she there because there's a military base there?
No, actually, she was there because she used to ride the Burlington Northern trains. She was part of a hobo community, and they have a
What?
huge hobo community in Grand Forks.
Really? I
Really?
didn't know that either. I'm always learning new stuff from you.
Yeah.
Most recently, I didn't know that it was a warmer.
That it was what?
That it wasn't or that it was a warmer. The thing on the stove.
Oh, the drawer.
Oh, the drawer on the stove. That's right.
You really confused me there for a second.
Yeah, I was
like, what?
What are we talking about? So
Yeah, we get there and she came outside and met us, and like we hugged, and we go inside and she's got like 4 of her hobo friends there and a 4-year-old boy that I didn't know she had. so she had another son later in life, and he was still living with her.
And how old is she at this point?
Yeah, that was my question as well.
I was 30, so she was probably around 50.
Right. And so for your son, I mean, this woman was a remarkable breeder.
Very.
Because
we get it. The uterus
easy
is strong
to have a child.
Yeah.
When you're that age.
Is he healthy and everything?
Well, you just hold on to this.
Well, when she got pregnant with him, she was homeless in Everett, Washington, living in a park. Before she went to give birth, she smoked crack because she was afraid of the pain. So she was high as a kite. He was in the NICU for 10 days, addicted to crack. And when we met him, I don't know if you've ever heard the term feral child, but think of a cat and apply that to a 4-year-old child. Like, he didn't speak, like, he talked in gibberish, but he didn't say anything you could actually understand. He peed outside, even though they had running water. He was insane. Like, I've never seen, and my mom, like I said, has done foster care for decades. I have never seen a child like that in my life.
And you were like, God, I wish I could have been with my bio mom growing up. That would have been great.
Oh, wild and free and addicted to crack.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we stayed at her apartment like into the late evening, and she told me horrific stories about her life. And she's like, just so you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to lay it out there. And if you don't like it, fuck you. And I'm like, all right, I can handle this. I was working at LSS at the time.
So I'm going to coat it with anything. It's going to be crack cocaine.
I had been doing the runaway homeless youth thing for quite a while, and I was used to kids being like that. So I'm like, actually, my job really prepared me well to meet her. Because nothing she said shocked me. Mike was literally trying to pick his jaw up off the floor several times. And I was just like, oh, interesting. Well, thankfully you made it through that. But yeah, crazy stories about the guy that she was married to that beat me. How she finally left him. She joined the army then and ended up on the East Coast, quit the army, and was in a prostitution ring on the East Coast for 5 years, I think it was. And then decided that she didn't want to do that anymore, moved back to Washington, met this other guy, got married, had a couple kids, left him and the kids, met this other guy, got married, had another kid, left him and that kid. And yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy shit.
So how long into this did you decide that you wanted to?
I didn't make that choice. After we left, like we took them out to breakfast the next day, and we're like, oh, we'll take you to Perkins. She's like, oh, Perkins is way too nice. In retrospect, it was way too nice for them. But we're like, it's Perkins. Like, you know, we can handle it. So we take them out to eat at Perkins, and Cody hid under the table and like growled at the server and was like hissing and making all kinds of weird noises.
Cody's your brother.
Yeah. And she was chewing up food and throwing it on the floor from him, and he was eating it off the floor. Like, I was just like, what the fuck is happening right
I keep
now?
getting back to the Road Warrior and the little kid from the Road Warrior. The kid that didn't speak, the wild kid, that like tunneled around and like lived, didn't speak and was like that little savage dude.
I was just thinking that's how it's like every time I'm at Perkins, because I'm fucking hammered, and I need a baker's dozen.
Well, and she didn't have a car seat for him, but we had one of those minivans that had the built-in car seats in the back. And so it's like, oh, no problem. Just flip that down and you can buckle him in. And she's like, you fucking sit your ass down or I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And Mike's like, wow, she hasn't changed much, has she? And I'm like, no, that wasn't her. That was the guy.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah, so I made her this nice little like scrapbook out of all of my baby pictures and stuff from my life. She didn't even like turn a page. She opened it up and she's like, interesting, and threw it on the couch. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, that's why we came. So we're going to go now.
So now, I skip forward. Cody has received the GOP nomination for North Dakota.
Well, he's not old enough for that yet.
Shit.
Did I shit on your joke?
No, I don't think it was a joke. I think it was an actual question, and then I lost it. It's all right.
Oh, then it's not. So it's less important than a joke.
Right.
So Grand Forks is like right on the Minnesota-North Dakota border. And there's a bridge that you drive by when you're coming back this way. And we were crossing this bridge, and Mike said, so how long do you think it is before we end up raising Cody? And I said, I think we could have taken him with us today had we asked.
For $20.
Right? Not even. And so we get home, and we're retelling all of this to my mom. And when we pulled up in the driveway, because she kept Haley, because there was no way in hell I was taking Haley to this situation. Haley was like 6 months old, a year old at the time. Well, no, she would have been like 3. Anyways, and so we pull up to my mom's house. He's like, you go in that house and you hug your mom. He's like, because you could have lived a really fucked up life.
2 hours later, he had to come in and pry me off of her. Yeah.
Right. So your mom may have had some bad judgment in not telling you about this.
Right.
Early in her life.
Right.
Hey, remember what I was mad at you about?
She's a
Don't worry about it.
fucking saint.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So then, 10 days later, I get an email from the biological grandmother, who I also connected with Debbie. When I connected with her, I connected those two.
Grandma?
Yeah, because they hadn't talked since Debbie was 3. Oh. So she was finding Debbie too. So I connected them. They had been talking. They were making these plans to have this big family reunion thing. We were all going to go up to North Dakota, and it was going to be this big, happy, whatever. And
Just
so
family and hobos.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The hobo thing is a whole other story, but it's super fascinating, actually. Anyways, so she sends me this email, and she said, I need to let you know, Debbie called me from a payphone in Montana. She hopped a train with, I can't remember the guy's name, but whatever hobo was there. And she left Cody with a neighbor, and Cody's now in foster care, and she's not coming back. And I'm like, oh, status quo seems pretty, like, this is kind of her thing. So I was at work when I got the email. And so I immediately Google North Dakota social services, like Grand Forks social services. I find the number for the county, and I call out there, and, the receptionist answers, and I'm like, so crazy thing, but I'm related to this kid that you have in your foster care system. And she's like, oh, well, we do relative searches. I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to find me because I was adopted. And she's like, wait, what? And so I finally get to talk to his actual social worker. And I explained to her the situation, and she's like, I'm going to need a minute. And I'm like, no, that's okay. I get it.
And a copy of the book when it comes out.
Yeah, right. And so she's like, so she tells me, Cody had gotten out of the apartment and was found wandering down the 4-lane freeway in Grand Forks because he was on his way to Kmart to find his mom because she hadn't came home.
Thought you were going to tell me he was chasing cars.
No. That's what the cops got out of what he told them is that he was going to Kmart to find his mom. He was able to show the cops where they lived. They brought him back, found the roommate passed out. Finally got her awake, and she handed them a backpack with his birth certificate, social security card, medical card, a couple outfits, and said, here, I don't want them.
Well,
she's not coming back.
At least she was ready.
I don't want them. Yeah.
I guess that's one thing about hobo life. You're probably like preparedness is probably the thing.
Right.
Packing's important.
Yeah. So he had been in foster care for like 3 days at this point. And I immediately told her, like, I hadn't even told Mike this yet, but I'm like, how do we get him here? And so we started this process, and it was going to take a long time to get, because we weren't licensed or anything at this point. We're living in like a little tiny minor house over in Crosby, and the windows weren't regulation, and there was all these hoops we had to jump through. And all of a sudden, Amanda Crandall, the licensor that was in Crow Wing County at the time, like, bulb went on over her head. She's like, your mom's licensed. We'll get a thing for him to come to your mom's house, and he can stay there until we can make it official with you guys. And I'm like, oh my God, what a great idea. Like, why didn't I think of that?
Problem solving.
So that took it still took a couple weeks, but that was way faster than trying to get him with us. So yeah, he went and lived at my mom's house. He was able to come over to our house every day. We just couldn't keep him overnight, but we could go see him there. Or he could come to our house, and it was still family. So yeah, so that's how it started. And then on National Adoption Day of 2011, we officially adopted Cody up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Yeah.
So now you have a brother, son.
He's just my son. The first thing he asked us is, "Can I call you mom and dad?"
Brother sons are a thing.
God damn it! I was holding that joke for so long.
Well, and
it just bombed.
I've explained to our kids several times over the years, like the story, and Haley's like, "So is he my uncle or is he my brother?"
You've never told Cody the story. You've obviously just told everybody else, and you're gonna
Right?
You're gonna save
Because
it.
this is how things are done.
No. They all know.
So how old is Cody today?
Cody is 13. Him and Haley are 5 months apart in age. So like he was with us when he started kindergarten, and people thought that they were twins.
Right.
And it's like, well, but his birthday's in February, hers is in July, so not really.
And how is he today?
He's when I look back, like telling this story now, when I look back to the day I met him, it's a completely different child.
Right.
Does he still have issues? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Pretty hard to live your first
Right.
3 years in that kind of an environment without having some kind of, like
Lingering
ongoing trauma.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, the thing that has been the hardest for us to break is stealing. Because
But
he grew
that's-
up dumpster
makes
diving and shoplifting. Like at 4, he was already doing all of this. That was their survival method. He'll steal food in our house and hide it in his bedroom.
Right.
Even though we feed him all the time. Like we're not
Right.
withholding
Yeah.
food.
I mean, food hoarding is like,
He digs in the garbage at school, like even now in 7th or 8th grade. He'll dig through the garbage in the cafeteria if somebody throws away perfectly good food that he
Right.
thinks is salvageable. Yeah, that's been the hardest.
I mean,
thing
he's
for
probably
us
the
to
kid
break.
I probably want him on the
The zombie
zombie
on my
apocalypse.
zombie
team?
apocalypse
Yeah.
team for
Okay,
sure.
right.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I mean,
Well, and that
yeah.
kid never gets sick.
right?
Like
Isn't
never.
that something?
His immune system is amazing. So when he was like in 3rd grade,
You know, that's good. There might be something to this.
when he was in like 3rd grade, he got like the stomach flu. He was puking and stuff, and so we kept him home for a couple days, and then he stopped puking. And I asked him, I'm like, "Did you feel better?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And so he went to school that day, and I get a call at like noon and says, "You need to come get Cody." And I'm like, "What's wrong with him?" And she's like, "He's got a temp of 104.5, which he had no fever when he left that morning." And it turned out he had been in gym class, had gotten hit in the stomach with the ball, and they sent him to the nurse's office because he passed out. His appendix had ruptured.
And he just didn't notice.
And he
So he's
He
kind of
never
like,
said a word.
he's kind of like
He
a-
never
he's
said
kind
a
of
word about
superhero.
it. Yeah, his appendix had ruptured, and they did a CT scan, and they didn't even do surgery because they said actually what happened was his body made a natural pocket around the abscess. So they just put a drainage tube in and drained it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And the doctor said it was the most amazing example of the human body doing what it's supposed to do that he had ever seen. And he's an old doctor, but he's like, this is literally one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. He's like, and to imagine that just a few hours ago, this kid was in gym class playing kickball.
It would be really interesting to track down all of your like relatives or all your siblings.
There's
And-
only one I haven't found, the mystery baby that was given up through Catholic
but like
Catholic
finding
charities.
out like, because I bet all of them have superpowers, in
Right?
some way, shape, or form.
I'm already thinking Cody needs to fight MMA. Like, and there's no reason to not start at 13.
I'll train him right now. Right. He doesn't even need training. Just let him go out there. That is so incredibly interesting. So I have been, I talk a little bit about, I don't know, my hero, Dan Carlin. He does this podcast called Hardcore History, and he's like one of my favorite podcasters out there. But he just released a book that on Audible and also in print form that I'm reading, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to get it wrong. It's called "The End Is Always Near," and it's a very uplifting. No, It's fucking horrible. It's about how like basically all throughout time we've been facing the apocalypse, and it's just a matter of which one's going to get us.
Yeah.
You know, and how many. But very, very interesting. Dan Carlin's a super awesome guy. But he was talking about the thought experiment of what if today the U.S. had to go to war against the U.S. You know, like there's two identical countries, two identical powers or whatever. And
you don't mean
everything's
civil war.
exactly the
You
same.
mean literally
No,
another country of
like,
equal everything.
We just
Okay.
duplicate the U.S. over here, and so the U.S. has got to go to war with the U.S.
Sure.
And we'll take nuclear out of it, so you can't just do the mass destruction. And then but this is a war that has to go to the end. Everybody's got to, we got to kill them all, one way or the other, right? So you're fighting yourself. And the only difference is that this country is today, is our generation. And the people that we have to fight are our grandfather's generation.
Oh, wow.
Same, but they all have the same weapons or whatever. And he's like, we'll get our fucking asses kicked.
You're just talking about the difference in the person between then
the
and
difference
now.
in the ability to take
Like resiliency
suffering.
and
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That we are a generation that no longer can take true suffering.
Sure.
Where and I don't want to get too much into what Dan said, but was making me think about that. And as you're telling the story, you know, man, when you experience just some incredibly, you know, ridiculous trauma at that super young age, and then make it through that, obviously there's some long-term ramifications.
Right. In most kids his age, the worst thing that's ever happened to them is someone took their cell phone away from them.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, because that is a horrible thing to do to a 14-year-old. You know, like they fucking lose their shit.
Yeah.
They act like, I mean, it's you know, unconscionable. You know, it's like fucking, you know, like it's like you fucking like put them in a concentration camp or something. You know, it's fucking it's barely conceivable for them. Now, yeah, when you compare that to like the shit our, you know, grandparents' generation saw and stuff, I mean, yeah, I think that's a solid point. They would fuck us up pretty badly.
Right. I mean, surviving the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And World War I, and then going into World War II. You know, it's like, it's pretty crazy.
Are we? You know, look at us. We're smarter. We're bigger. We're stronger. We're you know, like we're faster. We've got better athletes and stuff like that. Toughness and mental fortitude would fucking win out over that shit.
It's true that we do.
100 times out of 100.
It's true that we do have better athletes today. We have
Absolutely.
But on the percentage wise, our average, the mean is so much lower today than it was in our grandfather's generation. And then Dan Carlin, and I do not want to spoil this book because it's really, really good, goes on to say, and that wasn't suffering. Like, you want to talk about suffering?
Right.
And then he goes back to some of these time periods. It's fucking, man, it's amazing.
You look at these little guys that, you know, like, there's not many around anymore, but when you meet like World War II vets and stuff, tiny little guys, you know, like this guy was, you know, like $120, you know, when he was fucking like storming the fucking beach at like Iwo Jima, out of Iwo Jima and shit like that. You know, like fucking, these are little dudes, you know. Yeah. Tough little man.
Yeah, well, my grandfather on my dad's side, so my dad's dad, he was on a aircraft carrier that was in Pearl Harbor a couple of days before Pearl Harbor was attacked, and it was the only aircraft carrier that survived the Pearl Harbor attack because it went out on patrol or whatever it did. Yep. I don't know a whole bunch. I've always wanted to do a bunch of research about it and actually like tell the story, but I didn't, so I'm shitty at it. I do have some really cool footage though, because he had an 8mm camera and he recorded.
Oh, wow.
I have footage of boxing matches that he would film on the deck of the aircraft carrier.
Wow.
Yeah. My sister, Shelly, official fact checker of the podcast, is in the process of committing some of them to digital.
Digital, nice.
But she's really more interested in the shit about the family and stuff. I'm like, find me them fucking boxing matches on the aircraft carrier, because that's what it's the whole like, you know, 1940s. But yeah, those guys would fuck us up. That's all I was saying.
For sure.
Well, that is a fucking crazy story, Abby.
And that's my life.
Yeah.
It's not just a story.
So so what's this book, this alleged book
Alleged.
called?
I don't know.
You haven't come up with a name yet?
I did, but I abandoned it.
Oh.
It's a work in progress.
And how far along are you now?
I have a lot of material. I wouldn't say it's highly organized or well refined, but
Much like myself.
yeah, right. I'm actually meeting with a writer tomorrow
Yeah.
to go over it and try to organize it. She's going to help me through this process.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And she's actually got some connections in the publishing world.
Yeah.
So, and she thinks that this would be a highly marketable book.
I do too. It is a remarkable story that has broad appeal because everybody can relate to like crazy life
Right.
stories. But that's cool. But on top of that, it has a niche appeal,
It does.
which is something that is hard to quantify in that
Yeah.
realm, because there are how many people in the United States have been adopted?
Oh, I don't know that number.
Millions. I don't actually know. That number
It's got
could
some
be
serious fucking Lifetime movie appeal.
For sure.
And then
Boy.
and people that are in that process of searching out bio parents and all of that stuff, they're really interested in that stuff.
They are.
And your story, I can't believe can be that. I mean, I'm sure there are some other really crazy stories out there, but Jesus Christ, that one's pretty crazy.
Oh, right. If this goes well, I think you need to. I think you should set yourself up for a prequel and write Debbie's fucking story.
I actually, when I was in high school, I had a creative writing class and I wrote a short story that was her life, how I imagined it, leading up to the day that she gave birth to me.
I was gonna ask if like
It's weird that you brought that up because I've never told anybody about that story.
I was thinking like being adopted and stuff. Like I can't imagine. I mean, like you must have like rewritten your own origin story a fucking million times.
Well, yeah, because the shit keeps changing on me.
Well, I mean, like just like you would think like if you don't know your parents and stuff, I would be like, well, my parents are from another planet, like all kinds of shit. And I watch too much sci-fi, but
I've had many fantasies about who are they, where are they, why they couldn't keep me, why they couldn't raise me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And obviously that's changed.
just
like,
for you,
as my
Matt,
life
I'm not going to
has
sing any
changed.
songs from Annie right now.
Why not? You've sung. You don't listen to me at all. You even sung in the last
I
podcast.
probably did, yeah.
Well, and it's funny because the reason I originally got on Twitter was because you and Phil were helping me with that whole let's write a book thing. So my Twitter handle is Adopted Abby. Because growing up, my mom was always like, oh, I have 6 biological children, and then we adopted Abby. So it was kind of my name.
And I think we were a little too early.
I think
in
so
that
too.
Process.
I think so too.
Because like Kickstarter had just started.
Sure.
And
Yep.
Phil had like successfully did a Kickstarter project to get his movie going, but it was like we didn't really understand the process of everything. I think today there's a lot more avenues to do stuff like that.
For sure. For sure.
And there's other ones than Kickstarter too,
Yeah.
the GoFundMe things and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of endless options.
Sweet. Well, I think this is a good time to take a break because I have to go pee really bad.
Fair enough.
But
Me too.
yeah, but let's come back and because I got more shit on my list. So
Right.
Well, there's other things I'd like to talk about besides just myself. I'm not a narcissist, unlike Matt.
what? Let's get back to what's important here.
Well, we can do that too.
Me. Well, welcome back to Spitballing, everybody. I'm Matt Taylor here.
We're not cutting that out.
That's staying in. Welcome back to Spitballing, everybody. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy.
Dino Hakalugi.
And we have Abby Geotz in the house. So we're not talking on the break about this. We're mostly just talking about Rudy. But another thing that is interesting about you is you are on the school board in Crosby.
I am.
And as a school board member of a town that is very close to Brainerd, I would just like to ask what you think about the amazing school board president that we have in Brainerd.
My first question is who the fuck voted her in? And my second question is what the fuck was the school board thinking electing her president of the school board? Because they do that.
Really?
You know,
Like she didn't nominate, well, she might have nominated herself, but they had to agree to it.
I kind of feel like, I mean, and I don't know if this really, like, you know, I grew up in a tiny, tiny little town, and I feel like a lot of times in these small organizations like that, there's a lot of this going on. Like, do you want to do that shit? I don't want to do that shit. I think she wants to do this shit.
Sure.
Okay, let's let her do that shit.
Sure.
You know, like, you know, I don't think I like kind of the running unopposed thing. You know, like I kind of feel like maybe that might be how she got into that role.
And honestly, I don't follow Brainerd politics that closely because it doesn't affect me. But yeah, those were my first two questions: is how the fuck did this lady get into this position?
That shit was kind of mind blowing. And then, I mean, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then when I saw it was in fucking Newsweek, I'm like, God damn! Now we're all cousin fuckers,
right?
Well,
we only make national media for dumb shit. It's never for the good stuff that goes on here.
What
we're the
good
fucking
stuff?
punchline.
Huh?
What good stuff?
I don't know. I live in Crosby. Lots of good things happen in Crosby.
Crosby, like somebody was just talking about Crosby to me the other day. They were talking about like,
almost jumped on your Facebook post like a couple weeks ago because somebody was trash talking Crosby. It was after that attack in Pequot Lakes. And they're like, oh, I assume they were from Crosby because all the shit piles are from Crosby. And I was like, whoa.
Well,
Crosby's
but I kept scrolling.
Crosby's an interesting town, though, because there's no two ways about it. That it about maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little more. I mean, it was pretty rough. I mean, there were some definitely some rough parts of Crosby and some rough. But in the last 10 years, it's really come a long way. But there are still little pockets.
Well,
you
know, it's
isn't
an old
there in
mining
Brainerd?
town.
There isn't.
Isn't there in Pine River,
Nope.
Pequot?
I mean,
all towns have their.
What I think is interesting
people.
in Crosby, though, and I'm not saying that there are worse people in Crosby than the rest, is that how you'll be like, you know, it'll be like nice house. Holy fucking shit, right? When I was mowing foreclosures. A lot of the foreclosures I would mow would be in Crosby, and it would be funny because, you know, I would be driving all over the place. Then I'd go to Crosby and I'd be like, I'll just mow the next 6 houses in a row, and then I'd go to another spot and just mow the next 6 houses in a row.
Well, you know, and I think a lot of people, a lot of people bag on their hometown. I do hard.
See, I don't.
And you know, and Matt. Matt.
We all know Matt hates Brainerd.
Well, no. Matt, I'm sorry. The guy that commented on Crosby.
I wasn't going to call him out, but yeah.
he grew up there and he had a rough go of it because he got bullied mercilessly.
How old is this guy? Just curiously.
You know Matt.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, you do. He used to come into the Eclectic all the time. He's
Ogre,
really big.
Great big guy. Has a really deep voice. Kind of like
his name
Buffalo
didn't
Bill
ring
style.
any bells for me.
Oh, well, he's
So I'm assuming he's not around my age.
he's
And if he is, maybe I bullied him too. I don't know. Maybe I owe him an apology.
30, early 30s.
Oh, definitely not around my age. Okay.
But he got bullied mercilessly, and I've like he had a tough go of it, and you know, so like you know, so he's got kind of a that paints his, you know, hometown experience, and I you know, although I can say maybe I got bullied a little bit, but then I more than reciprocated. So I bullied a lot of people mercilessly, so that painted my experience, and that made me think my hometown was a shithole.
I always kind of paid it forward. Like when people would pick on me, I would pick on other people.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's like the concept of paying it forward. I think that's
how a lot of bullying works. I think.
Wasn't that how that movie went?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly it.
I don't know. That's what I remember.
But so I think a lot of people around here, especially in this area, being kind of, you know, economically depressed and everything, a lot of people are tough on their hometowns. I know for a fact that I am, even though there's a lot of wonderful people in these towns, wonderful people. You know, and I just, you know, and I feel lucky to grow up around here as well. But, you know, that being said, you know, for a while there, I used to, like, from my hometown, I used to tell people, I'm like, well, you know, when your town's got like 900 people, and 3 pawn shops. There's some messed up shit going on. Just stealing from one another to support your meth habit and blah blah blah.
Well, and like when Mike and I moved back to the area, we made a conscious choice to move to Crosby because we didn't want to bounce around with Haley. And so it's like, where do we want to raise our child? And we picked Crosby.
Well, look at Pillager. I mean, I think Pillager might be the best example around
full
here.
Circle.
Yeah,
it really has.
And that was like just a little cousin fucker town.
Yeah.
And now, like, it's kind of a bedroom community for Brainerd.
And they're one of the up and coming districts.
Awesome
for sure.
school.
Yeah,
great school. I hear nothing but great things about that school.
Well, and Crosby School is good too.
Oh, for sure, it is
really good.
I mean, this is awesome. And then, I was mentioning earlier, I was talking to somebody the other day. They were talking about what Crosby's done with like their outdoor activities and stuff like that, bringing tourism and shit into town via the trails and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's kind of taking this like kind of a blight, from the mining days,
right.
This fucking area that has just been butchered and making, and just shine,
Yeah, that's definitely a.
And making great use of it and shit. With
we
the trails
definitely
and all
polished
that
a turd.
I was going to say that, but I'm like, is that a fair thing to say?
I was going to say lemons, lemonade.
No, it literally
thing, but
is.
polishing a turd. And I love the pits. I always have.
So have I.
I grew up.
Now I have to pay to use them. That irritates me, but I do love them.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having to pay to use them. I think like what they've done there is pretty amazing.
But the people in the community have to deal with the ramifications of what they've done there. I'm just going to say that not all the tourists are the greatest people to have in your town.
That's true.
And I feel like if you have a local zip code, you should not have to have a fucking state park pass, or they should mail me one in the fucking mail that I can go out to the pits.
Motherfucker.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I can grok that.
And we really, I mean, people are like, oh, they've done such great things, but it's bringing a lot of money in tourist wise, and like that helps our businesses and it provides jobs, and I get all of that, but like these people aren't moving to Crosby, they're visiting,
right?
So like as far as like our tax base goes, it's not really benefiting us a whole
but it
lot.
is definitely bringing in money into the community.
Oh, for sure.
And some of the like cool spots that have opened up, like the Iron Range.
You don't really want to get me started on
that. on the what part? The places that have opened up?
2 of them that have opened up. Because remember, like back when you and Phil opened the Shine, like you couldn't do Kickstarter to open a place like a restaurant.
Right.
Well, apparently they've changed those rules.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of part of like how those rules changed.
Well,
that's
good.
Not in the sense of like I tried to do anything about it, but okay, let's try to explain this really quickly. So back in the day, if you wanted to go public with a company, you couldn't do it. You couldn't get an investor unless they were able to invest. They had to fit these criteria, and really it was very limiting. I mean, you had to have like, I don't even know how much it was, $30,000 of whatever assets. Well, they've pretty much removed those restrictions. So now basically you can, the thing has changed where you can essentially sell small shares of companies, so on and so forth. And I just did some video production stuff for the people that were trying to like do the public service announcements about it back in the day. There's some really cool YouTube videos I've done out there about it. So
I'm just going to say there's
changed.
businesses in town that I personally don't spend my money at because they have gotten donations from other people in town to make their businesses what they are.
Interesting.
So, and I'm not the only one who feels that way. So,
Well, I'd like to know more about it.
I don't want to say too much because I'll get fucking roasted, especially by your people. I will get fucking roasted. So.
Okay. Well, I wanted to mention
ballers. You're our people. Some of you fuckers aren't even real people.
Our people are all over the place. I did want to mention that back in the day, I remember you guys were interested or looking at like buying a bar.
Yeah.
But I just thought that the concept behind, and I'm glad you didn't. By the way, like it should be left for people who just are millionaires and want to lose money. But I'm
glad the people that did buy it failed. But
the concept behind the bar that you wanted to do, I just thought was great. What was it going to be called again?
The Red Dirt Roadhouse.
The Red Dirt Roadhouse, and it was going to be a biker bar.
This was before, just to set the stage, before the Red Raven Cafe was in town, because they've kind of done something similar to what our idea was. But this was years before that. And
it was going to be a biker bar,
Yep.
but it was bikes.
Mountain
because
bikers.
it was mountain biker
Yep.
bar. And I was like, oh my God, this shit just decorates itself. Like you could just do so many cool things with it.
And we were going to have a shop in there that like sold bike parts and did bike repairs and like had like the little knick-knacky touristy type crap that they could buy from Crosby too.
I mean, it was an awesome concept.
It was.
It's just
The space was amazing too.
the space was made, but there was also just a lot of. It was just going to take a lot of money.
It was going to take a lot of money, which was why we didn't do it.
Right. I'm glad.
I mean, we could have picked up the building from the bank dirt cheap, but the amount of money that needed to be spent to open it properly, and I'm just saying that because that's not what happened. But anyways, it would have taken us like another probably close to $250,000 to get the place up and running. Yeah. And we just didn't have that laying around to spend at the time. So,
and I know from experience, if you get into doing a business when you're undercapitalized, it's not a recipe.
It's
for
a
success.
soul-sucking disaster.
So besides having a podcast, it's I mean, it's like having a podcast in that it's a stay poor slow scheme.
Yeah, actually
stay poor quickly.
It's more like lose everything you have.
Right.
Fair enough.
Not all that fun.
Yeah. So it's much. So it's much different than that.
So speaking of ballers, we talked a little bit about before the podcast, and we jumped right into Abby's crazy fucking story, but and we don't want to call out this person because it's
It's a private thing, yeah.
But we have we're just gonna call him a fan, a person who's been
A friend of the show,
and I know he's going through a tough time right now. His mother passed away, and we just want to say we're thinking about you, brother. So, Jesus Christ, I almost choked up on that one.
That's what I was doing earlier because I hate to think about that sort of thing because my folks are a million years old, and I just don't know what I'm gonna do. Because that's we're gonna be that age. I know this just sounds horrible, but I fucking can't wait. Like, come on, Dad. You've been around long enough. Well, your situation's
Let's go, buddy.
different.
I was going to say, you're in kind of a different situation.
Let's get her done.
But yeah, we're thinking about you, brother. And yeah, that's all we're going to say about that.
So let's talk about fucking waffles.
I'm really curious to find out what this is.
So Meta invited me to become part of this group. It's called this waffle group, right? And I was.
You can find more about it on Blue Waffle. Just Google
Blue Waffle. I'm gonna have to do that after. Okay, I didn't understand what it was. I looked at the group and I was like, I still don't understand what it was. But then she explained it to me. It's pretty neat. There's like, I don't know, something like 900 local people in this group, and what it is you can, let's not say sell. But kind of like you have something that you want to get rid of, right? Whether you built it and a lot of it is stuff that people built or paintings or whatever. But you have this thing and you want to sell it. But instead of selling it for like, okay, I want to get $40 for this thing, you waffle it, which is a raffle, right? So you say, okay, I want $30 for this thing. I'm going to sell $31 raffles. And then people in the group buy the $1 raffle, and then you raffle it off. That's a neat idea. Fine, cool. But the really cool part, which I think is,
I'm glad there's a really cool part.
Yeah, because I was like, oh yeah, cool. You're gonna buy, you pay $1 and you maybe get this thing, whatever. I thought it was fine. But the really cool part is is one of the rules of the group is you have to do a live video for the actual waffle, right? And they're fucking hilarious.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, they're so
people,
much
have fun.
fun.
With this?
I want to bid on shit just to watch these people do it. It's so much fun. And it's...
So should we raffle something off every episode?
That sounds amazing.
That's waffle. It's called waffle, not raffle.
Waffle.
But Yeah, I was watching this one the other night, and Meta was in it. She didn't win it, but it was like this girl's husband, and it's fucking hilarious, and he's pulling things out and everything, and I was dying laughing, and I'm like, this is so much more fun than buying shit, you know. So yeah, I don't know how you joined the group or anything, but I think it's cool. I think it's a really interesting concept, and I actually I think Meta invited Christine to join the group, and it would be a really cool thing for her because Kyle's
She
wife
sells
Christine,
stuff, right?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
finds old shit and paints it and makes
Restores
it.
it.
Yeah, she buys something for like $1 and sells it
Yeah.
for like $900.
My
I'm just
They call that
my-
upcycling or something
my house
like
is
that.
filled with furniture all the time that's in various states of repair and refurbishment and painting.
yeah. So
and,
I'm sure you want that to be more.
yes,
yeah.
yes, I'll try to encourage that.
But it would be fun for us to, if she did something, if we could waffle it. We could make the waffle video. I think it'd be super fun.
Absolutely. Automatically, I start my mind starts going to Vanna White style gowns and stuff like that. But yeah,
If you
that
need
would
a
be fun.
gown, Mike has some that I could lend you.
Yeah.
Heels
So,
too that might fit you.
I just thought it was kind of interesting, and right away when I saw the videos that when they're actually doing the waffle, I was like, oh my god, this is so fun. I could care less, but I want to win. I haven't bid on anything yet, but we're trying. Meta bought this she paid $1 for, and she got this thing of CBD cream. And I mean, whatever, it was just neat. But her winning it was like the coolest thing in the world. We're so fucking excited.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so unlucky I would never win anything.
That's fun. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Well, if you wanted to, you could just buy them all.
All 31. Just
Yeah, go buy all
Yeah.
30 of them, because it's not you're saying this is how much I'm selling it for.
Sure.
And you have to sell all of your waffles, and then once all of your waffles are sold, then you raffle it up. So if somebody wanted to just pay $30 for it, they could just buy all the waffles.
My luck though is somebody would have already bought one, and I would buy the other 29, and I still wouldn't fucking win.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's happened to me before.
Well, I was saying if we ever waffle anything and somebody buys all the waffles, I'm still doing the fucking drawing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You could actually have more fun with it if you knew it was all one person.
You could.
Just saying.
So what do you have on your list there, Kyle?
Man, I've got all kinds of shit. But nothing earth shaking. There is one where I have to bust out my phone for a second. But Ant-Man 3 confirmed. Have you seen the Ant-Man movies?
I haven't.
I saw the first one. I have not seen the second one. I
second
love
one-
Paul Rudd, so
Man,
I will watch
I like
anything
Paul
with
Rudd
Paul
too.
Rudd in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I loved him in Endgame.
Yeah.
I thought
I have not seen any Avengers movies.
Oh well.
Ooh.
No spoilers.
Sorry.
But everybody dies. It's you haven't seen any of the Avengers movies? God,
No.
they're really good. Well, anyway, I thought his character was really good in the last Avengers movie. He's just funny.
Yeah. It's
No, I actually want
brings
to
a
watch
lot.
them. I have a plan to sit down and watch them all, but I
And
have
watch
not
them in
done it.
order. And if you
Well,
need that
and
list, it's out there.
Yeah, I've seen you, I think, post it, and I'm like, what? How are all of these movies part of it? But
Yeah, there's so many peripherals.
It's a web.
Yeah, the one I didn't watch was the Captain America
I have
one.
not seen that.
And we were watching another one, and I'm like, there's a whole bunch of shit going on. And Peyton's like, we got to go watch that Captain America movie.
Probably Civil War.
So yeah, Civil War.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was really important. Oh yeah, we were watching. I remember what it was. We were watching Black Panther. That's Black Panther.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't even know who this character is. What's going on? And he's like, oh, we got to watch Civil War. So then we watched Civil War. And then
Well, and even the
made
last
much
two
more
Avengers
sense.
movies, if you haven't seen Civil War, you're kind of fucked in.
Which Civil War was not I didn't think it was super good, but there was a lot of plot points you needed. There's just a bunch of information. It's kind of an informational one.
It was key.
Yeah.
Also, so I mentioned I mentioned Disney earlier. I mentioned The Mandalorian, and so there, and this is the way this is set up so far. So you can sign up for their streaming service that begins on they launch on the 12th of November. And you can sign up for that ahead of time. And there's a deal for like Hulu customers. Like you can sign up for all that shit and Hulu and all this shit. But right now I've got like all the Hulu I can get. I've got Hulu Live, like all that shit, like limited commercials and stuff. So right now I'm paying like I've got that whole package. Well, they've got it set up right now where you can sign up for Disney's service, and through them you can get Hulu and shit. But you can't go to fucking Hulu. Like I'm gonna have to cancel my fucking
Disney
Hulu.
Plus isn't an add-on to Hulu Live?
So far, no.
Oh my god!
Because I've been trying to add it for fucking like months now, and still nothing.
So you're going to have to cancel your Hulu account and then sign up through Disney?
The information that I've got so far through Dr. Gibbons, and who looked into it. I looked into it, and I'm like, because I went online, and I'm like, am I the only one that's fucking this up? And I went online, and people are going, just got off the phone with Hulu customer service. They have no idea. So then Sam told me that, like, you can get it if you go to Disney, you can sign up, but you've got to like delete your like Hulu account or whatever, and then restart to get it that way. And I'm like, that is fucking ridiculous. Well, and I hope they fix that before the 12th.
What's the big? I mean, what do you lose if you cancel your Hulu account and then restart it? I mean, do you lose some?
Well, you'd lose everything that you've got DVR'd, and all your shit.
I seriously don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like what? I feel like I'm an old person.
No, you just have more useful hobbies than me.
Well, that might be it. Because I don't even really know what. I know that Hulu is I
don't know about the Hulu
streaming service, but that's about all I know about it. It's like Netflix, right?
Kind of. But I have Sprint for my cell phone, so I get a discount on my Hulu because they pay for the basic Hulu, and then I can add on the rest through them, and so I still get it cheaper.
But what are you talking about?
So
DVRing?
Like cloud DVRing and shit through Hulu. Like I instead of like regular cable, I have Hulu Live, which costs half as much. And the DVR interface and everything is fucking customer friendly, and it's brilliant.
I think awesome. I fucking just figured out what my mind couldn't get around. So I'm like, why the fuck would you need to DVR something when it's a streaming service? It's on demand, right? So like Netflix, for example, I don't need to DVR the fucking. I'm trying to think of a Netflix show, but I don't need to DVR the next Umbrella Academy because it's just there. But you're talking about live. You're talking about like watching football or something.
Yeah.
And really that's all you need to DVR, because like if there's a series that you're watching, even on like a network like ABC or NBC, it'll come up. Once the episode is over, it'll come up in your
it's available.
Things that you're watching, like the on-demand service. So really the only things we ever DVR is things that wouldn't be included in that. And I can't think of a good example because Mike will not watch recorded sports. He'll only watch them live.
And you'll only watch recorded sports.
Well, no, not only, but it depends on what kind of shit like Timberwolves games. Yeah, I'll usually watch them recorded. Although a lot of football games, I like to record at least half of because I don't like to fucking waste my time watching commercials. Although, like a magical thing about watching football for me is I get a lot of shit done during commercials and everything because I have a lot of nervous energy. I'm always up and running around. I'm doing my laundry. I'm doing the dishes. I'm fucking doing all this shit. I'm gonna rub it out quick, maybe halftime. But like I'm getting all kinds of shit done during the commercials, so that it's not necessarily so bad. But if I'm gonna watch it straight through, fuck 3 hours. I just watched a football game in 2 hours. Boop 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 boop.
So how much does this Hulu cost?
Like Hulu Live plus like the movies, the TV, all that shit, plus Hulu Live, all that stuff cost me like $50-something.
Yeah.
Which is like a third of what I was paying for Charter.
The basic Hulu Live package, which includes the original Hulu streaming service, I think is $45, but you have to pay an extra $5 a month to be able to watch it on more than 2 TVs at one time.
Okay.
And then you have to pay extra if you want the additional cloud DVR, which we didn't opt for that because we watch most of the stuff on demand. And then you can get like HBO and Showtime on there too.
You can?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Hulu's pretty impressive, really.
It is.
So, and
And I really love that DVR interface. That's fucking great.
And
So
then-
our Hulu Live, we pay $65 for because we've got some add-ons.
like HBO Showtime?
Yes.
And then how much is like this Disney service?
Like less than $10.
I was going to say, I thought it was like
I think
10.
it's $6.99 if you like with ads, and then a little more without the ads or something. But they also like they bundle with so they bundle with Hulu, they bundle with
ESPN
ESPN
Plus.
and stuff like that. And just Disney alone, I mean, you're getting access to a lot of shit.
The
Plus,
whole Disney archive.
yeah,
Like
all the
like
old
movies you
and
can't
TV
even buy on
shows and-
DVD right now because they're in the vault.
Now-
They're releasing them all.
Is this something like, can you just subscribe to Disney
Yes.
Plus?
My understanding is yes, it is a standalone service.
So I wouldn't need to also get.
But
the Hulu
because I saw it was going to be bundled with Hulu, I thought it was something I'd just be able to add on to my
Me too.
existing Hulu thing. Now I'm
And-
kind of disappointed to find
and
out
I'm
that's
hoping
not the case.
that they get that shit figured out within the next
Yeah.
week because fuck. Is this the last time we're gonna get together before that?
before the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
I don't.
that's a Tuesday?
I don't know what the date.
The 12th is a
I don't
Tuesday.
know what
It is.
today is.
Today's the 5th, Election Day. I voted.
Yes.
Election for what?
We had a referendum in Crosby.
Oh, that's the only.
That was our only ballot issue, yeah.
I wasn't supposed to vote, was I?
No, you don't live in Crosby.
Well, I mean, like,
I don't know
didn't
of
realize if
anything
there
that
was anything else.
was happening in Brainerd.
But see, we're liberals and we love voter fraud. So, me and all my dead relatives were going to vote.
Well, the polls are still open. You have time.
Voter
make
fraud,
sure you vote
in
yes.
case anybody's keeping track, voter fraud isn't a real thing. If you want to worry about something, worry about fucking Republican gerrymandering and shit like that. You dirty son
Oh,
of a
yes,
bitch.
absolutely.
Okay, so there was that. Okay, another streaming service thing. Now, I don't know if you read what Dr. Gibbons posted about The King on Netflix. So it's about Henry V, and it is fucking dope. Like, it's
I've heard
really
good
good.
things.
is that a Netflix original?
Yes.
Really? It's a series or just a show?
Just a show, just a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie.
A longish movie, but like by the end of it, I was like, I could have done with a little more. But because they basically end it like right after the Battle of Agincourt, which they do a nice job with. Kind of, they take some liberties with history, but that's okay with me because the movie was entertaining as fuck.
I liked Henry V with Kenneth Branagh back in the day.
I just like Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, me too.
Now, the guy that plays Henry in the movie, his name is Timothy Chalamet. And he is also playing Usul. He's playing Paul Atreides in the new Dune movie, which is also going to have like Jason Momoa in it. It's going to have Dave Bautista in it. It's going to have it's got an shit. Anyway, there's the cast is impressive.
Well, hopefully
So far,
they do
so
a
good.
good job with it. I have never been a Dune fan. I could not make it through the books. I tried a couple times, and I'm just like, fuck me. I just can't do this. And
Well, the books are brutal. I have never.
they're hard to read.
I've never made it like
They're
100 pages.
It's an
into Dune.
incredible concept. It's an incredible concept book. It's just not that well written, so it's hard to get through. And then I thought the movie was just original movie was just like
A lot of people didn't like it, and it kind of bombed at the box office, but has a huge cult following. There's
nice.
Kyle.
I just don't. couldn't get it. And then didn't they do like a mini series
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
just like
But I kind of eat all that shit up. Basically, if you weren't gonna make me read the books, I love that story. But I did like the movie. I love the movie actually. Even the weird soundtrack, all that stuff. It's all good. But yeah, I enjoy the movie, and I'm really curious to see about the second one, or see this reboot. It's going to be like, I guarantee it's going to be at least visually impressive. Looks like they're like Baron Harkonnen as Skarsgård. Skarsgård, is that his name? Yeah, his sons are in everything now. From like his youngest son's in Castle Rock and shit like that.
I love Castle Rock.
Do you?
Oh my God, the new season
I haven't
blows the first season out of the water.
I think so too. That first season, I was still waiting. That's the one that the Skarsgård kid was in.
Yeah.
He played
the kid that was in the basement of the prison. Yeah.
And then the other Skarsgård kid is the good-looking guy that played the vampire dude in True Blood, Peter Northman or whatever.
Oh yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
So Castle Rock, that's like
but their dad plays Baron Harkonnen. Castle Rock.
Yeah, Castle Rock is like what?
Stephen King and J.J. Abrams like collaborated on.
Oh, it's an Abrams thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's based on Stephen King characters and plot points like locations.
It's
not
Stephen
a
King story.
Stephen King story.
Yeah, I think I can get behind that.
Season 2 is completely independent from season 1. So like there isn't a continuing theme in season 2. It's a completely new thing. And I love the girl who's playing Misery. The actress. She's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like Misery, like the Kathy Bates Misery.
Kind of, yeah.
But
it's loosely based on that character.
I'm interested in that.
She plays a good crazy.
My inkling would be that they are connected eventually.
It could be.
Because
I don't know.
King, with that universe,
I'm a King. I love Stephen King. I love me some King.
Hardcore Stephen King
Really?
fan. I'm looking forward to Dr. Sleep.
Everything that he's written.
Oh, I haven't read everything he's written.
But I would say I've read at least 80%.
My 13-year-old daughter is currently reading The Shining.
Yeah,
she just finished it.
It's one I haven't
and
read.
She said it's way better than the movie. And I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah.
Shit usually is.
I think Stephen King's amazing, but all of his shit is connected.
For sure. There's overlapping things in a lot of his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and on Hulu, which is what makes Hulu a little different than Netflix, and one of the reasons why I actually kind of prefer Hulu, they don't just drop a whole season. So like they drop the first 3 episodes, and then every Wednesday.
Painful.
It is, but I'm the kind of person who will literally sit and watch an entire season in one sitting. So this forces me to take it in one episode at a time.
Well, see, so this is a problem with it because I'm the same way. So I'll wait till the season is completely out.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
Do it
because I'm on Twitter
because I
all
don't
the time.
want. But then there's a problem, right? Like The Mandalorian, I have to watch it, or else it's going to get spoiled.
Right.
And then
I will wreck it for you.
And I spend a lot of time on Twitter.
And then I'm going to hurt someone.
And Twitter ruins
So like
everything.
I have to watch it. So it's like, I'd like to just go into a box until that season is over.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking about that last night with one of the few shows that I actually watch like on a weekly basis. There's only 2 really, and one is This Is Us.
Which is a bad show, really.
Which is loosely based on Abby's life.
Yeah, kind of.
But and it's almost kind of a guilty pleasure show, but I maintain that it is actually pretty fucking good. The Rookie, Nathan Fillion's cop show.
I haven't watched it. I've seen previews.
It's super cute.
It keeps popping up in my things you should watch queue.
It is something you should watch.
I haven't bit the bullet
recommending.
and watched it.
I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but were you a Game of Thrones fan?
Very much so.
Okay. So did you hear that they're coming out with a prequel?
The prequel, yes.
Yeah.
That like kind of based around the Targaryens.
It's actually well, it's not based on the Targaryens. It's based on the book that George R.R. Martin wrote about the history of the Targaryens.
Okay.
So it's not like there's no source material.
Well, no, I don't.
It's
a questioning. Kyle was.
He was like, I don't know if I think no.
I just don't find the Targaryens that fucking interesting.
Oh, but their fucking story is
I was gonna
really, really interesting.
I think there's a lot of depth there that was kind of just
I'm
skated
sure I'll enjoy
over.
it. I mean,
in
it's my shit.
Game of Thrones.
Dude, like I read the book that this is based on, and it's not, well, when I say read, I mean I listened to it, and I think it was like 56 hours long or something like that. I mean, it's a tome, and it's not really a story. It's not written like a novel.
Yeah.
It's written like
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 a history.
Yeah.
You know, so it's factual and there's no, you know, whatever, but it's really interesting stuff.
It's the truth. It's factual. Everything is.
I see. I knew you couldn't make it through a fucking episode
without
without
singing.
singing.
Now I'm going to have that fucking song in
And
my
I'm
head
singing
all
it.
goddamn night.
Hey,
Thanks,
it's all
Kyle.
right. You're gonna have zippity doodah stuck in your head. That could be.
Yeah.
I hate that song.
You're
a lot worse
welcome.
off.
Right?
I was gonna mention one thing. I know you have a list, but you were talking
It's not
about
sacred.
you were talking about your ability to like
Speak with the dead on Facebook.
speak with the dead on Facebook. Yes. The cloud DVRing thing or
gotcha.
whatever, but it just reminded me that you put out a post on Facebook about something. It was very cryptic, but it was like something about I don't know what even to say about this game or
Yes.
something. And I thought.
The Vikings played a really confusing game.
Oh, that's what it was about. See, so I assumed that it was about Cards Against Humanity, and I said right away, I said, yeah,
Which I have never played.
I know. Cards Against Humanity sucks.
Oh my God.
I'm never gonna get rid of this Cum Dumpster. I mean, what am I gonna do with Cum Dumpster? Nobody's ever gonna take that from me. So.
See, I don't even get that because I've never played the game.
I
don't
was
even
actually
know.
slightly disappointed that you didn't even smiley face it, because that was a fucking funny thing to say.
I don't. I know, like, I'm the only person left alive that hasn't played that game.
So
but-
the thing that I was to say about your post is I get super confused when people say shit about like sports stuff when without saying like the Vikings are like, then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I know
So,
I can ignore it.
that means I was
know I
guilty of
don't
vague
have
booking.
to ignore it. I don't have to like look into it anymore. But when somebody says something like, oh, this game is killing me, I'm like, what game could they possibly be talking about? Like, you know, it's so you were vague booking.
See, I should be more specific because I hate vague booking. I
you
mostly
are
hate it
such
when
a
people
bag.
What?
You are such a faggot.
Vaggot? Don't be such a fag.
I like it. I like faggot.
But mostly like when I think of vague booking, you know, I think of people like, you know, like people just throw like little tidbits out there like, well, I guess I know better than to do that again. And then just fucking watch for somebody to like, ding. Okay, somebody took the bait. Cool.
That's
You know?
it. If anytime somebody does that, I'm gonna now like write, fuck you, you fucking faggot.
The ones I hate are the, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me, but don't ask because I'm not ready to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And it's like, then why the fuck did you just post that?
And in
Like,
that
keep it
case,
to yourself.
Shut the fuck
Right.
up.
That's, you know, you really, I get on, like, I don't know if, like, I'm fucking getting old anyway, so I'm like less apologetic about being so fucking judgmental. And I get on there and I fucking see people's shit and I'm just like, ugh, all my friends, you know, like I'm reading shit and I'm like, I'm watching these people go, all my friends suck. Nobody fucking blah, 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 you know. And I used to like, I used to actually bother like telling people, like trying to straighten some of these people out in a helpful way. You know, because like one of the ones that always fucking like, always never, that never failed to fucking disgust me was people that are like, if you were my real friend, you'd fucking stick by me and you'd always be like, you know, like people that always want their friends to agree with them and shit. And I'd always go on there and be like, you know who my most useful friends are? The ones that'll tell me you're fucking up, you know?
Exactly.
Otherwise, like, you're going to surround yourself with fucking yes men and sycophants that aren't fucking real friends to you, you know? And they just fucking whatever, like, yeah, absolutely, I got you. Then it's like you're out there on a fucking limb and they're like, watch this shit. And like, those aren't your fucking real friends. Your real friends will be the ones that are like, stupid.
They call you out on your bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck. Those are way more useful to me anyway, being flawed as I am, you know, than fucking people that are just like pat you on the back and fucking watch you just explode, you know?
Well, and there's people that I've literally had to unfollow from my Facebook because when I see these whiny ass posts in my newsfeed, I'm gonna be like, nobody fucking cares.
Right?
And I don't want to be that person.
Man, your life is dramatic.
But,
and then
like,
they're
I
like
can't
hashtag no
handle
drama.
it.
Oh, motherfucker, really? No drama? Not even just a little?
The worst is after I've like had a couple beers and then I go on Facebook and it's like, all right, close.
Yeah, there should definitely
I'm
be
gonna
a
hurt people's
breathalyzer.
feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, if Apple could just make that happen, that would be great.
I still wouldn't have it because I won't buy Apple devices.
Actually, I won't buy
Me
Apple
neither.
devices either. And I was a
Wow.
oh,
You've
yeah.
come so far, man.
Oh,
Which is also the name of his sex tape.
so I'm going to tell a story because I was
Brooklyn,
so
do you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Brooklyn Nine-Nine is like the most brilliant fucking show. Like if you haven't
I've seen
seen it,
episodes, but I haven't seen.
oh
the
my
whole
god,
thing.
that's a running gag.
I'm
for
gonna
them.
talk. I'm gonna talk about why I fucking am done with Apple. So, I was Apple guy my entire life. My very first computer was a Commodore 64, so that doesn't count.
I mean, when they start you off with fucking, Oregon Trail. I mean,
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
But I mean, I had
Brand loyalty.
an Apple IIe, so I mean, I've been a Mac guy forever, and I don't know, about 6 years ago, I got a gig doing this big video production thing, and I needed to build a computer for it, and Jeremy Doyle, shout out to you, Jeremy Doyle, local filmmaker, really cool guy. He's the one who shot the film that Phil Holbrook did. I mean, he was the cinematographer for it. So super neat guy. Got together with him, and he helped me build this computer, and it was a Hackintosh. So it was all PC components, but ran Mac OS, right? And it was a fucking god machine. I mean, it's still pretty badass. But then I started having problems. So iPhones, fucking went through like 6 fucking iPhones, and I don't have like a plan. I have to go buy them, right? So I bought like this $800 iPhone. The battery lasted like 4 months, and then I wouldn't charge anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? Bought another one. And yeah, anyway, I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking done with this. So I was done with iPhones. Then I bought a laptop. I bought a MacBook Pro, and I bought it refurbished off of Amazon. And it was $900. I mean, this was the same time I bought the camera. So that was my investment. I was going to do the laptop and the camera and to be able to do some more video production stuff. About 4 months after I bought the laptop, I opened it up, and the thing has this screen on it it looks like a lock, right? And I'm like, what the fuck is this? After doing a whole bunch of research on the internet, come to find out it's because it was stolen.
Oh no.
So the person who originally bought the laptop and registered it with Apple locked that screen. There is no way to unlock it except by finding out who that person is and getting them to unlock it. Jesus. And of course, I went too long for me to do anything about it. I did everything. I spent I don't know, 7 hours, let's say, trying to figure out how to get around this. There's no way. No. There's no way around it. So I have a $900 paperweight. Yeah. Right? And iPhones fucking suck ass. And then the final straw was I went to do something on my computer, and it on my God machine, and the fucking OS can't be updated because it's not an authorized Apple product or some shit like that. And I fucking wiped it. Now that meant losing everything. Sure. Right? Because Apple has their hard drives are formatted differently than PCs. So I had to even wipe out all of my fucking videos. I don't have a fucking video anymore. I don't have anything. And I have 3 4 terabyte hard drives in my computer. So I mean, I had massive amounts of shit.
You couldn't
fucking wiped it all.
Back them up to a flash drive?
No, probably could have, but I was a little bit pissed. Yep, I was in the middle of some anger, and I went, fucking wiped it all.
Been there.
And then put Windows 10 on it, and I am now a convert. I fucking won't. So I have a...
Do you still have an iPhone?
No, I have a Motorola.
I'm impressed.
Yep. And honestly, my fucking phone cost me $200. I bought it at Costco. It's just as good as
Sure.
well, it's actually in some ways better. The battery life is amazing. Yep. And the camera's just as good. Yep. Really, I don't know what the advantage is anymore.
I don't either.
Oh, I know. I can't use fucking FaceTime.
Well, they have a version of that, the Google Duo. It works just as good as FaceTime.
Sure, but I mean, I use Facebook Messenger for pretty much all my communications except for a few texts.
I really do like Google Duo though. If you're looking for like a FaceTime type app.
No, I don't even like it. I don't even like talking. I mean, like I want to, So anyway, that was my rant about that. So I have completely turned my back on Mac, which is weird. Because
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
I was a Mac guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I don't have any issues with Windows 10. Like, I don't like it when you go to get on your computer and you're like, oh my God, it's got to update for 4 years. But, it's comparative to all the other bullshit that I've gone through. It's, sucks.
My phone and computer needs are, very simple. I mean, my computer, I got that great computer that was like kind of specifically for for video editing and stuff like that. And you know how much video editing I do, or know how to do. Basically, it's for strategy games, like fucking. I play Rome Total War, Facebook, and weird porn. Are all my computer needs. And then my phone, I don't even download apps and shit like that. I'm like, as soon as we're going to access your, we're going to take pictures of your colon and fucking send them to, what?
Yeah,
I don't. Like a lot,
I don't download much for apps either.
Yeah. Although now, I have so much fucking adware and shit showing up. I'll get a phone call, and I'll try to answer the phone call. And up pops a fucking full screen goddamn ad for some fucking company and shit. I'm like, the fuck, So I got to clear out of that first.
That's
meanwhile, I'm missing my phone call and shit. It is fucking weird, but it's probably time. I don't know if that's because I've had this phone for fucking ever. I don't replace my phone very often. Samsung. So I'm really happy with my battery life and stuff like that.
Right.
I remember back in the day when you were doing when you were working with CFX and you had the Razor?
Oh, probably, yeah.
And you were texting, you were doing live results with this was way after the day when everybody had a smartphone. But no, not Kyle.
Oh.
He just had the Razor.
Well, for the longest time, I switched. I was looking for I wanted to get back to a flip phone. I wanted
They still sell them.
Well, and I wound up with a fucking, a pink Nokia Razor.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking sweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
this
right?
is what I'll do. But, but that was the three, the old phone number type.
Where you have to hit the button 3 times to make a text come up.
And I'm like,
the only people who use flip phones now are drug dealers.
Well, that or people are paranoid.
Well, people who,
not necessarily just, I mean, sure, drug dealers can use them too, but also people who are just paranoid and don't want anybody to have their GPS location and all that kind of stuff.
I don't care. Come fucking get me.
Yeah.
Just like we have an Alexa. We have a lot of Amazon products. I'm a big Amazon fan, but we have an Alexa. And last night, Haley's like, Mom, did you know Alexa is always listening to you? And I'm like, yeah. So why do you still have one? I'm like, because I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
if they have nothing better to do than listen to what goes on in our house, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I don't really care
give
about
a shit
that either.
I don't give a
shit. The only
shit.
reason that I want to get Alexa is because I want to do the Samuel L. Jackson voice thing.
Yeah.
That appeals to me.
Yeah, you have to pay, I think it's $1.99 to change to Samuel L. Jackson. I haven't done it yet, but if I pay the money and I do it, he better say motherfucker.
Right.
Or I'm canceling it and I'm asking for a
more.
refund. Yeah, because the only reason I would have anything in Samuel L. Jackson's voice is for him to say motherfucker.
Back in the day, this wasn't that long ago because I think it was an iPhone, but Tharg used to got an app or got something on his phone so his Google Maps would use Mr. T's voice. And it was just awesome. You'd drive in the car and be like, I pity the fool, don't take a right turn at the next intersection.
I'm assuming you probably haven't, but have you ever watched the show The Big Bang Theory that was on CBS?
I've seen 3 episodes of it, but yeah.
But there's a great episode where Sheldon reprograms Leonard's GPS in his car to his own voice, to Sheldon's voice. And so he gives all the directions. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. I would
think with this into gaming and superheroes and shit as you guys are, you would love The Big Bang Theory. Because
I don't watch very much TV at all. I literally do have better things to do, and other than now I've been watching the newsroom again, which we're just done.
I went back and rewatched that after your episode about it.
Oh, did you watch the whole thing?
Just the first season.
Yeah, I just got done with the second season. and I didn't like the second season as much
No.
as I did the
No,
first
no.
season, but it ended really well. But I love the third season. We haven't started.
I
it
love the
yet,
third season.
but the third season was
Yeah.
fantastic. The first half of the second season was
It was
a little
weird.
bit tough. The whole
Yeah.
Genoa thing, and like I like it so much more when they're actually talking about real news rather
Right.
than like shit that didn't happen. But
Right.
but I did really like it.
I love those moments when the show like aligns with what the real life was at the time that they're
Yes.
dealing with. That's a cool aspect to any show for me. It's like, oh, I love this context.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I really loved it. Yeah, I forgot that. That's right. You introduced me to that show.
I sat Matt down on my couch and made him watch the first episode.
And you were like, I remember that. Yeah, you were like, yeah, you really need to see this show. And I was like, Abby, I don't even watch TV. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? She's like, I'm not fucking around here. You sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down. Here's a drink. You know, like, would you need anything else? All right, now shut up and watch this show. And I
He
was
came
like,
over-
holy fuck.
Yeah.
I was
it's
making
fucking
him
mind-blowing.
ribs. I made really good ribs, and I was making him ribs, and he comes over for like this big dinner, and I kept talking about it, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll get around to it, and all of a sudden I hit play, and he's like, oh, this is happening right now, and I'm like, yes, I will finish supper. You sit there and fucking watch
You
the
were
newsroom.
such a pushy bitch.
I am, but you're welcome.
It was so good.
You're welcome.
So good.
I probably never would have watched it.
Probably not.
You know, watching an hour-long show, that's
Yeah.
a huge, you know.
Yeah. I
mean,
just
But that
finished it
first
for my
episode
third
has
time.
that hook in it. I
Oh,
mean, it grabs
sure.
you right
Oh,
away.
Yeah.
And then you just expect it to get like not like yeah, it does. It has that incredible hook, and then you think it's gonna like go
Like that was
south.
the peak.
and then what is the second time when I thought, oh fuck yeah, it's always when it goes, you know, and they like it says the date on there. Oh yeah, it was the BP oil spill.
That's part of the first episode.
That's what I'm talking
Yep,
about.
yep.
So like it was like, oh, this, you know, was super awesome. Oh, this is kind of interesting. Boy, there's a lot of people. What's going on? And then all of a sudden,
Yep.
you know, whatever the date was, BP oil spill, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm fucking hooked. I'm in.
I can't remember what season it is. I want to say it was the last season. They have one where they did that about Casey Anthony. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Casey Anthony, but I was like, I followed that shit hardcore. So
I
Yeah.
don't know what that is.
Casey Anthony was the chick that killed her kids.
Oh,
kid,
yeah.
kid,
was it just
singular.
one?
Yeah. She's from Orlando, Florida. Big shocker. And she left with her 2-year-old child, roughly 2, and she had been gone for a month. And she came home and her parents are like, where is Kaylee? And she's like, oh, the nanny took her. And then it turns out that
I think it
nobody
is
ever really
season
took her.
2 that
It might
they
be.
did it
It
in.
might be.
And- but what
I
they-
just remember him talking about
Because
it.
they had like other shit
they
that they wanted to
wouldn't
report
do
on
it.
it that
Yeah.
everybody wanted to, like
Yeah.
all anybody wanted to see was Casey Anthony.
Yeah, I
and
think
shit.
that's
Yeah.
season 2, and then they basically didn't report on it. Was
Right.
pretty much it. So
Right.
that's all.
Because he didn't want to
Interesting.
give her that attention.
Right, because it's like,
And I agree.
everybody's covering this ridiculous,
Yeah.
the sensational stuff.
ridiculous amount.
But it's funny, like when you watch that and like you think about, you know, like journalistic integrity and stuff like that, you know, and then you look at where we are now, and you're like, fucking, no one heeded this cautionary tale one fucking bit. you
Well,
know?
Meta said the other night, and I was like, oh fuck yes, she hasn't been all in on the newsroom. She's watched it with me. She seems to really enjoy it, but she hasn't like pushed all of her chips in the middle yet. I didn't think. And then the other night she said, God, I wish these were the actual people that did the news.
Right?
I
was
have
like,
thought that many times
yes.
myself.
You get it. And that was it.
Just like I watch a lot of political dramas and I think, God, I wish this is the person who is really in the White House.
Though you know that I believe that that's changing, like really changing now, with podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Rogan, and say what you want about him, has a gazillion fucking people listening to what he says, and much of what he's doing is actual news. I mean, Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan, and that's more people than ever listen to Bernie Sanders. You know what I mean? And by the end of it, and I'm not all that like invested in politics. I mean, I usually vote some of the time. I'm serious. Like I was, I honestly, I wasn't going to the last election. I was just not going to. I was like, fuck. I don't think I can even.
But then you sniffed the libtard baby dust.
I did go vote, but I felt like I was guilted into it, and I didn't feel good about it, and I kind of felt sick to my stomach when I was done. So, and there were a few local elections I needed to like chime in on, but anyway, yeah. So I'm not but I got done listening to an hour-long interview with Bernie Sanders. Interview's not the right word. Conversation with Bernie Sanders, and by the end of that conversation, I'm like, I can grok this motherfucker. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily saying I'm endorsing. I'm just saying I get him now, right? He isn't fucking just crazy.
No,
you know?
No. He's actually got really well thought out, laid out,
very
plans,
reasonable.
but,
When you actually listen
right.
to what he says, but when you boil anything down to a soundbite, it doesn't
Absolutely.
work. Oh, I got fucking pissed off about Amanda Schwarzkopf's post on Facebook. She said something to the extent, if you think that Joe Rogan and I can't remember the other person.
What is it, Goob or whatever? Like what the fuck?
Man, whatever. GOP are making fun of GOP candidates is cool. Something I don't know what it was exactly, but she was hating on my man. She was hating on Joe Rogan, and I was like, yeah, if you think Joe Rogan's role models, then you're a fucking idiot. Basically, Joe Rogan's a role model. And I'm like, Joe Rogan's totally my fucking role model, right? Now, I don't agree with 100% of everything he says, but neither does Joe Rogan.
Yeah, sure.
Like, Joe Rogan is, like, open to the idea that we are evolving and that, like, ideas will evolve. And he doesn't have to be dyed in the wool on anything.
Yeah.
The whole, when did being dyed in the wool, when did that become a fucking good thing, right?
Never.
That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
The whole phrase comes from, oh shit, I got dye in this wool. That fucking shit's never coming out. Now I can't change. Well, being able to change is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Being able to like take information in and be like, oh, that changes the way I feel about this. That's a good thing. I don't know. So I just went on a fucking rant.
Yeah, I don't watch any 24-hour news networks.
No, me either.
Which that was another reason why we had to get Hulu Live, is because besides sports, Mike likes to watch CNN. I can't, and CNN is a liberal slanting news media. I just can't stand 24-hour news media.
I think personally,
they've ruined everything.
Personally, I think because I always hear like, well, this has just like when like fact checking sites, which is actually one of the things that I've got on my list here, because I'm a big fan of fact checking and I like fact checking sites. And a lot of people don't understand, like a good fact checking site has like cites their sources and stuff, so you can fact check the fact checkers.
Absolutely.
But invariably I hear about these fact checking sites all having like a liberal bias, and unfortunately, and I hate to say it, because a lot of people will like just tune out as soon as I say things like this, but reality has a liberal bias. And because that is why like now you see a lot of fake shit like on Facebook. I see people constantly posting shit that is clearly fucking stupid and wrong and fucking
like
totally made up.
anti-vaxxers.
Even worse than that. I mean, but there's
one I see the most.
A lot of shit out there. And I'm like, okay, if you're not a fucking idiot, you can look at this and you're like, wow, that sounds really sensational. I'm going to take a look and see if this is legit or not, because I give a fuck about whether or not I perpetuate a fucking lie, because I care about my honesty and my integrity. A lot of people that shit doesn't fuck with them at all.
Yep.
They don't give a shit they don't know what integrity is. They can't even spell that shit. And they don't give a fuck about being honest. Yeah. But they really like it when people agree with them. And they like to whip that fucking like rabble into a goddamn lather. Yep. And, and watch other people get pissed off. And sometimes you call them on it. You'll be like, look, okay, now here, this, like, look at this. You posted this and it's not true. It's fake. And even if they like accept it, like you see them go, there's like stages, like, well, Snopes is no, man, like here is like where they cite their, like you can look and see for yourself, that based on the information that they're offering you, that this is fake. And you're perpetuating a lie. Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like something that should be true. Motherfucker, I don't give a fuck what it sounds like. It's a lie. You're telling a lie. And now you know it's a lie, and you're still telling a fucking lie. Because you don't give a fuck about honesty. You don't give a shit about the truth. And this shit is definitely slanted one way. And you don't see a lot of liberal shit out there. You don't see a lot of liberal sources putting this shit out there and perpetuating this shit.
The thing is,
by comparison, most of this shit is geared towards your low information voter. Now I'm not saying, and once again, I'm not saying that all conservatives are stupid. Like conservatism is like real conservatism, I think, is something that a lot of people, myself included, can get behind, especially, at least fiscal conservatism. But that shit has gotten hijacked, like just like the Republican Party, which is now kind of a fucking bunch of whack jobs.
So is the Democratic Party, honestly.
Yeah, no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at what's behind people's, when you look at people's motivations. And like when people talk about when people fucking libtards, and I'm like, well, okay. First of all, when I hear libtard, I know that you fuck blood relatives. Two, like I can see like.
By the way, that is one of the horrors of growing up adopted, is not knowing who your blood relatives are. Just had to throw that in there.
I'm going to need to get a Blink 182 test done on you, and then I can.
But like what is behind what is behind the libtard motivation? Taking care of people, keeping people safe, stuff like that. You look at why do these people vote the way they do? Okay. What is the conservative motive? What are people's motivations for voting conservative? Well, they're usually kind of ugly. Personal freedoms and stuff. Okay, cool, I get that. Whatever. I love
freedoms,
guns too.
But they're the most anti-choice people.
Yes,
in the land.
Absolutely, it's a fucking, in racism and shit like that. And then I've got Republican friends that are trying to tell me, no, Democrats are more racist. Man, are you fucking kidding?
Yeah.
Really? How many fucking who are the most racist people that you know in your life? Now, how do they vote? Oh, come on now. That shit drives me nuts. Anyway, I should stop ranting about that shit.
So one thing that I stopped listening after this, but was that it's very interesting that now we live in a time where fact checking could have a bias slant. Because it's fact checking, it can't have a bias slant, and it does. I think that their mistakes can be made in fact checking.
Yes,
but the point is it's
they do
checking.
Sometimes make these mistakes and they correct themselves.
Right.
Because they're fact checkers.
Right. Because they're checking fucking facts, and facts don't have slants.
Right.
Right. Now, again, people will say you can make a study, say whatever you wanted to say. You can slant
statistics. And stuff.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
But the facts is
when
just the facts.
Somebody says something, they say, I do not have genital warts. And then you look at their dick, and they do indeed have genital warts. That's a fact.
The funny thing is when you first started to tell us what the waffle site was, you said if you have something you want to get rid of. I almost said, you mean like herpes? But I let it go.
If you have something you want to share.
I had to cycle back to it.
Like genital warts?
You just kept bringing up STDs. I couldn't leave it go.
Yeah, that bugs the shit out of me. We talk about it we talk about the newsroom a little bit on the show, but they were, there was the rant what's the chick that cut her hair in the second season? Maggie.
Maggie, yeah.
Yeah, and she's talking about Michelle Bachmann, talking to angels, and
as a Christian, how offensive she found
that is, and how is that not the first and only thing we're talking about? And then also they were talking about how did facts become debatable? And I was like, this was said quite a while ago.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
ahead of its time.
Were they fucking prophetic?
Yeah.
Because that has not gotten better.
No.
No. And now, like, people feel like their feelings and their opinions are on par with facts.
Right.
You know, like, that shit, like,
Those aren't my facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? As if, as if they have a different set of facts.
This is
you know?
like, goes back to the whole of like fucking, like, I don't know why the fuck you guys are teaching that creation or that fucking evolution shit. That stuff's right. That stuff hasn't been proven. It's like, Jesus.
I love that
So-
people think a theory means that it's not necessarily true. It's like, no, that's not what theory means at all.
But like, we have our electorate is getting less and less educated and stuff, and now, like, is that a Winston Churchill quote? The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with your average voter.
I don't know.
I mean,
No, that is not a Winston Churchill quote.
are you sure? I don't know.
It could be, but I don't know.
But yeah, I could have made that up.
But I just had a Facebook rant about this a couple weeks ago because I have a few anti-vaxxer friends that are constantly posting articles and videos that support why you should not get your kids vaccinated. And every time I look, and the site that the article came from is like antivaxmom.com. And it's like, well, of course you found something that agrees with your position when that's the only source you seek out is people who think like you. And so I had this big rant about it. I left the anti-vax part out of it, but it's like, you could literally come up with any belief in the world and go online and find somebody somewhere who agrees with you and supports your belief and find materials to make it seem substantial. That does not make it real or right or science.
And like I rant and shit, and I call them cousin fuckers and stuff. But like, you can also find some really educated people that believe some really fucking stupid
Yeah,
shit.
that always kind of surprises me too.
And it blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
So I was saying before that I do think that the news is changing though.
So much more
the
entertainment.
way that, I think it's going
Sensationalized. Sorry.
So I think it's going the other way though. I really do. I think that most people, I don't want to say most people, but there is there's a percentage of people that are walking away from the 24-hour news channels.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a backlash.
And
one of
they
them.
are starting to get their news from alternative sources. I remember back in the day, the Daily Show's tagline is, the Daily Show, where more people get their news than probably should. And
I do watch shows like Bill Maher and John Oliver, but
John Oliver, I was going to mention
John Oliver
him.
really cites his sources.
Last
so.
week tonight with
That's
John
John
Oliver,
Oliver, yeah.
that is a fantastic show
Absolutely
that
is.
covers current not events, because it's not really about the events, but current subjects in a really in-depth way.
Yep.
That's funny as fuck, and they are very factual, and very covered.
And he goes out of his way to cite his sources
For sure.
and that because he wants people to trust the information he's giving them.
Right,
So,
that's his hook.
Yeah.
and it works
It
because
does.
he's saying, he did the one on the WWE.
Yes, that was
and
great.
It was great. And the cool thing about John Oliver, he's really funny and he's got a great team. Even if you're not interested in what he's talking about, it's really fucking interesting.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes was when he did the one about the IRS.
when he made a church.
Oh, that one's great.
Isn't that
but
the
that wasn't the
IRS
IRS one?
one? Oh,
Mm-mm.
okay.
Nope, that was about televangelists
Oh.
or about whatever. No, the IRS one is where he goes really deep into why we need the IRS, and right now they're being underfunded. Their funding
Yep.
keeps getting cut,
Yep.
and it's kind of, anyway. His analogy was, or his thing was, is the IRS is kind of like the asshole of the government, and you don't miss it unless it's gone. And if you don't have an asshole, it kind of sucks. And then he got fucking Michael Bolton
Yes,
came out and
I do remember that
sang.
episode.
What's the song what's Michael Bolton's big song?
When a man loves a woman.
No, that's not the one though.
That's his
Oh
big
wait,
song.
is it? How's it go?
I can't sing Michael Bolton.
Well, what? Just I'm giving you that.
When a man loves a woman, he will give her
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It was like a parody of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That he was singing, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I wish I could remember the words. But check it out. Last week tonight, John Oliver, IRS, Google that shit. It's fucking hilarious. And the other thing is that I was going to say is that this stuff is accessible.
I was just going to say that.
The fucking internet.
On YouTube.
I don't have HBO.
Right.
I just watch the YouTube clips of it. And this is where I get my fucking news.
And I love that about John Oliver is I can go type in any topic I know he's talked about and post the YouTube clip of just that part.
Really like the one he did about transgender.
Yes.
My favorite. Really good because like that's a tough subject and sometimes you don't really know what to say.
Sure.
He did a great job of that one, and his thing was, like he was saying, like, what do we call somebody who's transgender? Whatever the fuck they want to be called.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for this fucking guy, and
Yeah.
he puts up a picture of Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
He's like, we've called this fucking guy Puff Daddy, P Dog, P Diddy. And I can't actually even find anybody who likes that motherfucker. But, like if somebody wants to be called Zed, then we call them Zed,
Well, and every year when we fall back, I post his "Why is this still a thing?" about daylight savings time.
Oh, really?
'Cause
Actually, I don't know if I saw
Yeah.
that.
Oh, you should watch it. He nails it on the fucking head.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I know. I don't know. I know that I know it had something to do
debunks
with
all of the-
farm. Oh,
he-
maybe I don't
yeah,
know. Maybe
yeah.
I actually don't know.
He really goes in and debunks like all of the reasons people think we do daylight savings time and how even what the real reason was isn't a thing that we deal with anymore. So we should just get rid of it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that one because
Definitely watch. Just Google. Why is this still a thing? Daylight savings time, John Oliver. It's a YouTube video.
I'm sure over the years you guys must have seen that Onion article that I post like about every year, if not more, about why 38% of people actually aren't entitled to their own opinions. It was just talking about fucking people that just like have such a lack of information and fucking and like their opinion is so uneducated it really doesn't fucking matter and they're not entitled to it because it's so fucking stupid. And I found that like I first posted that on fucking MySpace. That's how long I've been posting that fucking article, and it still
It's
cracks me the
relevant
fuck
today.
up.
Man, I remember going to the Onion back even before MySpace.
I remember
Dude, the Onion's
going
been great for a
in
long
downtown Minneapolis and getting the paper Onion
Yeah.
out of the dispensers.
Now
there.
that I think about it,
That's how
think-
I first started
I
reading the
think
Onion.
that might be how I got introduced to
Yeah.
it too, because somebody would bring them up because we
Yeah.
get the city pages
Yep.
and the Onion
Yeah, yeah.
from
Yep.
somebody would bring them up paper.
Yep.
And then oh god, they're fucking brilliant.
What I always think is funny is it never fails if I share an Onion article. I've got one of those asshole people in my timeline. They'll sit there and like,
it's fake news,
yeah,
blah blah blah.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, it is fake news. Did you look at the source? No, you didn't, because you don't look at any fucking sources, and that's why you post stupid shit all the time. So
That's-
stay off my timeline.
Shortly after I posted that last like fact checking fucking rant, a friend of mine tagged me in an article. It was some like Clinton fucking conspiracy theory thing, and my response was, Google that website, because it was like it was just it was a fake news. They called it a satire site and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like satire and fake news. Like this
Yeah.
is their specialty. But I looked at how many times that fucking thing got shared.
Oh yeah.
And every single one of those fucking people was all in. And I'm like, motherfucker, you didn't even slow down.
That's
like,
sad.
you just fucking hit the
So,
gas as soon as
like,
you saw that shit.
The Onion has been making very funny news-like statements for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
And it's
Brilliant satire.
Brilliant satire. And it's pretty sad that we live in a time period where people think so little about what they repost, repropagate, that are we facing the end of satire because we can't say something so outlandish that nobody will believe it? Because doesn't matter how fucking outlandish it is, people are like,
That's the thing about
We're
a lot
facing
of
the
this
end of
stuff.
stand-up comedy because they're getting roasted for roasting people.
kind
It's like
of.
it's
that
what
is
they
a lot.
fucking do.
Yeah,
And
then,
they're
but then did you see
they're
the new
losing
Dave
their
Chappelle?
job. I have.
It's so fucking good.
It
And
is.
guys
And he
like,
was like, oh yeah, you think so? Let me just take these fucking gloves off. There will be nothing I won't fucking make fun of.
Who's Jeffries, the Australian guy?
Jim Jeffries?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's another one that I listen to his stand up.
Yeah.
I'm like, good
Yeah.
for you. You
Yeah.
know, like, he loves his hate mail and all that shit.
But,
you know, like,
but they've started to talk openly about this, about how it's becoming a dying industry because people are afraid to get roasted by people by getting up there and telling jokes.
You know what,
I mean,
though?
it's
I
comedy.
think it's actually just getting rid of the pussies from comedy, because I don't think that's true. Like, I think stand-up comedy is actually coming into the greatest age ever, because we're at a time period when everybody is so offended by everything.
Right.
That's the time that comics shall rise.
Yeah.
well, and the really
because-
I
offended
hope
people
so.
are
I
great
do believe
targets.
there will be.
And I
What's
mean,
that?
the more offended people you have, like the more material you have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And super offended people make fucking beautiful targets.
Right.
They do.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think Dave Chappelle's hurting.
No.
He's doing all right.
And he talks about that in his stand-up.
Oh, it's fucking.
He's
brilliant.
hilarious.
Yeah. I actually.
And I hated the Chappelle show. I'll admit that.
I
But
really-
I hated it.
I-
Hated it.
I'm the same way. I watched only like a few episodes of
Yep,
the Chappelle
me
show, and I
too.
was always like, and then I really didn't fall in love with him until I watched his stand up.
Yep.
After I watched $1 Million Baby.
Oh, I haven't seen $1 Million Baby.
It's fucking horrible. It's Clint Eastwood directs
I know what
it.
it is.
He's in it, and it's about a fucking chick that
Yeah.
he coaches, and then she
Yeah.
breaks her fucking neck and begs him to kill her.
Oh.
I have not
a
seen
good
that
movie.
It was an in-flight movie on my way home from Vegas, I think, and I fell asleep.
Yeah, no, it's like
Never saw it.
literally like it's like you take Bad News Bears and then it fucks Old Yeller, and then they have some fucking where the red fern grows babies. It's not good.
Are we talking about Billy Bob Thornton, Bad News Bears, or are we talking about Walter Matthau, Bad News Bears?
I didn't realize there was a difference.
Oh, there is.
Oh, that reminds me. I need to. I was going to rewatch Sling Blade. I think that's on Netflix now.
It is.
And there was something else that popped up on Netflix. Oh, Shot Caller.
What?
Shot Caller.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
With Jamie Lannister.
Oh.
Yes. But
Might
Shot
have to
Caller
watch
is
it.
pretty fucking good. And a newer horror movie that just came out like a year ago called it was a World War II one, like a World War II / zombie movie, which is actually pretty good, called was it Overlord or something? That showed up on Netflix. Awesome.
Interesting.
Cool. Well, we should probably wrap this up. Do we have
Yeah,
anything else
shit.
we need to talk about?
It can wait. I wanted to revisit Yelpers again. I'll just do it momentarily. So
Fuck Yelp.
Tyler Hamlin, did he? Our buddy that was on the show episode, yeah. But
It's cool that we're getting to the point now where we can't
remember, who was when.
I mean, yeah, he's got to be in the 8 or 9,
Something like that.
10.
But he posted a it was a Yelp review with the guy's name blotted out and stuff, where this guy he bagged on this restaurant. Actually, he said great things about the restaurant. Gave it 1 star.
Oh, motherfucker.
Because he talked to the manager and stuff like that and told him how much he appreciated the place and this was great and that was great and everything. But he gave them one review, like a 1-star review, even though the service was good, the food was good and everything. He said the management was rude and they were like cheap because they didn't comp any of his shit.
Because he has 1,200 followers.
Because
on
he has
Instagram.
1,200 followers on Instagram. And so this motherfucker, and I was like, Yelpers, man. Yelpers. Fuck yeah. I mean, because we've all seen it. We've all dealt with it. Fucking pieces of shit.
Shit makes me
entitled
angry.
cocksuckers that fucking that just think so fucking highly of themselves, and they bag on fucking and they give these places fucking like bad marks for the dumbest fucking reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I can deal with a bad review if it's legit, but a bad review because you're a cunt is not legit.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is what this shit
I
often
think-
boils down to.
That one's so bad that that's gonna that guy that helps that restaurant.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, if somebody, I mean, like that's just so douchey.
Well, and influencers are a whole new breed that I wish would die. But
What do you
speaking
mean by
of
influencers, like what do you
like
mean?
people who think that because they have a lot of followers, they should be
Oh.
able to talk about your shit and you should give them free shit in return. Yeah, like there was this girl on a reality show, which is the only reality show that I watch, that was an aspiring influencer, and I'm like, so you're on the show to get a
didn't even know
shit
that
ton
was
of
a thing.
followers? Yeah, like how that was her job. That's how they listed her job, was she was an aspiring influencer. It's like, so you're using this show to try to gain followers. That's what that means.
We're aspiring influencers.
You are. No, but I was going to say, speaking of bad Yelp reviews and satirical TV shows, have you watched Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix?
No.
Oh my God. Watch
Was that
it.
good? Because that had
It is so
who's
good.
in that? Because there were some great people in that,
good.
right?
Yeah, Drew Barrymore is
Oh.
the mom.
Yeah,
And,
I've seen it.
Who's her husband in that?
I lost his name.
He's the guy from Deadwood.
Yes. He is the guy from Deadwood. I lost his
Oliphant?
name. Yes, Timothy Oliphant.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
That's like
It's
that's one that I was
such
like,
a good show.
I need to watch.
I was
this, but
skeptical
never-
about it, but as soon as I started watching it, like I could not stop. And there's a part in the, I think it's in the first season, where he had given a bad review to this restaurant.
What is
so
the
the
name of it again?
Santa Clarita Diet. But this
I
restaurant
didn't realize that's what it was called.
this restaurant owner didn't want to serve him because he gave him a bad review. He's like, well, let me eat here one more time and maybe I'll change my mind and I'll go back and change the review. And so he eats there again. He's like, nope. And the guy just gets fucking pissed at him. It's hilarious.
I think I watched pretty much the first season, and I kind of got like I kind of lost interest. But it's interesting. It's well done.
It's very
kind
well
of
done.
It's got a ridiculous premise, but that doesn't matter.
That's kind of the point of the show, though, is that it's got a ridiculous premise.
Yeah, but it's cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would recommend it.
Oh, I do,
but-
100%.
Well, so I
But
mean,
they canceled it, so that's the only reason why I won't.
feel like I have a limited amount of time to like watch. So I try. It's kind of frivolous. It's not important. It's not changing anything. You know, it's just entertaining.
It's my
watch
hobby.
Just watch The Duelist
Yeah, I know it's on my list. I mean, I don't like.
and Robert.
It was entertaining, but I don't necessarily watch television for entertainment.
I do.
I mean, not that the newsroom wasn't entertaining.
I
But,
watch
like,
such a big
it's important.
spectrum
Yes, I
of
just don't have
television
time.
shows. And, like I will pretty much watch anything.
Oh, really?
Not that it will hold my attention and I'll watch it all the way through to the end. That show I loved. Binged watched the shit out of it. Sad that they're not bringing it back another season of it.
Oh.
But
I
I got 2 seasons into The Get Down, which I fucking
love.
loved, and I'm like, there's gonna be no third season.
Yeah.
Have you watched The Expanse? The Expanse? It's on Amazon Prime.
Ooh, it's
No.
amazing.
I definitely would suggest that it's a show. It's a space opera
sure.
show, but super great characters, and like it's not. I don't think it's
Next
even,
best thing to
I don't
Martin.
even think it's geeky. I don't even think like you have to be a geek.
No.
Oh, I like sci-fi.
Yeah, so it's awesome. But the other night, I was
Martin. I mentioned Martin, like next best thing to George R. R. Martin. Big fan of the show. Instrumental, influential, maybe not instrumental necessarily, in The Expanse getting saved by Amazon.
Martin was?
Yeah.
no shit.
I just watched a thing about how that show got saved, and it was fucking amazing.
When you said that Martin was a big fan of the show, I thought you were talking about here, and I was like,
Bill
I'm
actually
sure he
was.
is.
Have
Sure
you
he is.
guys ever watched Goliath on Amazon Prime with Billy Bob Thornton?
I just watched the first season. I got kind of
like-
bogged down in the second season.
Yeah, the second season's different, but then it kind of comes back again in the new season. I think
Well, see,
this-
I loved that Dwight Yoakam showed up on there.
Yeah.
and that actually had me wondering, like, are he and Dwight Yoakam? They must be buddies or something.
they have to be because I've
what
seen
are
him
the
in a
odds that
couple
he showed
things.
up? Yeah,
because he's in Sling Blade and yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to finish both The Expanse.
Sorry.
I fucking found 6 episodes I didn't know I didn't watch.
Oh, how did that happen?
It's
I
like finding
must
cash in your
have
pants.
thought I ended the season,
Oh,
and then I was like,
Which
'cause there's
season?
Season 3, like the last season. But it's got like 20. It's like really, there's a lot of episodes in that season. Well, I thought I was done for whatever reason, and then the other night I was like, oh God, I can't wait till the new Expanse comes out, and then was like, oh, have I fucking watched this one? I have 6 episodes I haven't seen.
Dude, that's amazing.
Fuck yeah!
I would be
I know.
so fucking
It was like
happy.
it was like fucking. It was like like finding a. It was like I mean it was a little bit better than finding like a $20 bill and a pair of
Right?
jeans that you haven't worn in a while.
$20 is cool, but
Yeah, but this is a fucking
No, but
6 more
episodes you haven't seen,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Especially for a show that's that good.
that fucking good.
I
yeah.
can't.
I also like The Marvelous Miss Maisel, as long as we're talking about Amazon Prime and stand-up comedy.
The
That show is
only
super well done.
One I've ever watched on Amazon Prime, other than like shows I've already watched, like The Office or like The Newsroom. I think the only one I've watched is The Expanse, and then isn't the one about the castles?
Man from High Castle.
Yeah.
I'm about to start the 3rd season of Man in the High Castle. And that show, like, it's interesting, lots of dialogue, short on action and stuff, but it's good enough to like kind of catch you, and the premise is cool.
Yeah.
The thing that like I was watching that the other day, and I realized that like how a lot of shows, like how casting is done is always like I'm always interested in that. And I was like, man, like there's really it's like the main character on the like I was thinking about how the main female lead on that show, I'm like, she's just not very attractive. But then like I seem to find all the Nazi housewives super attractive. And then I was like, man, I'm like, but that kind of gets back to like, my own preferences and stuff. Like I think like 75% of the women that I've like a solid, at least 75% of the women that I've ever been attracted to were like Nazi housewives.
Yeah.
And I'm like I really really dig conservative like Republican chicks and shit. I'm like, probably because they seem so crazy to me.
Right.
And I don't know. I think, but then again, I've my sweet, wonderful, totally non-political, wife.
I could see her pulling off a Sarah Palin for like for Halloween or something.
Right?
Huh?
Or role-playing purposes. I'm just saying, honey.
I can see Alaska from your dick.
I couldn't get into the high castle-y thing. I
tried.
I watched
I tried.
5-6 episodes, and I'm like,
I think I was about the same. It lost me.
I'm like, and I like alternative history, and I like all it, but I was just like, don't really give a fuck, man. Here's the deal: if I don't care about any of the characters, then I'm like, I'm done, man. Like,
it's hard to get invested in these characters. I've only found one so far that I really like, and he's a Japanese trade minister. But they don't even like open him up to you until like probably second season, really, maybe late in the second season even. And now I'm like kind of invested in that character, but overall, it's just something that I'm kind of watching because I've got nothing else going on right now.
I have a lot of shows that are like that.
See, I mean, like if I'm gonna watch a show, I gotta like really be into it. Yeah, and that's another thing. And then people like I'm the person who has like no time to like to watch shit, and then yet I think like I'm like people are like your show's too long. I'm like fuck you. I'm gonna make it 7 hours. So I don't know. It is what it is.
I'm just really moody, and so like what I watch on TV is totally dependent on what mood I'm in at the moment. And I have to be like in the right frame of mind to turn on spitballing. I enjoy it once I do.
But the thing is,
I need to be there.
I feel like spitballing is, I mean, though I like the video aspect of it, I actually think it works better as a podcast because then it's just in your ear and you're just going along and so on and so forth. I mean, we're not that fucking great looking. I mean, no,
what I usually do is turn it on my TV and then go in the kitchen and like start making supper or bake something.
Because I mean, like
it's like
I
listen.
I love listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, but every once in a while I'll look at a video of his because I want to see what his guest looks like. But I don't need to fucking watch it.
See, when I just listen to the show, it's difficult for me. I like watching it. I prefer watching it.
But you're not a podcast listener, really.
But like sometimes I do listen to it, but then I usually get too caught up in how sexy I think my voice sounds. So you think the video component makes you less sexy? Yes.
So does everyone else.
Wow.
That's the idea.
It's totally a joke. I think Kyle's so fucking hot. Okay, the one last thing that I wanted to mention, and every time I say that, it never is one last thing. But I posted a post on Facebook in the Spitballing website that was a that was a poem by Guante. Did you get a chance to listen to it? To
I
watch
did
it?
not, but I think I've seen that one.
Jesus,
I think
no,
I've seen
it's
that
brand
before.
new. He just put it out. You got to watch it.
No, I'm pretty sure I've seen it
It's
before.
you did not. It's brand new. He just put it out. It's a really interesting. It's long.
I'm pretty sure I'm really familiar with the works of Guano.
Shut up. Guano, fucking asshole. It's a really interesting poem. It's pretty long, but it's worth taking the time. And it's not even really that well recorded, but you want to check it out. It's all about superheroes and kind of like masculinity and what it means to be a man. And I love him. I really do. I love the way he crafts this shit. But yeah, check it out. It's a really neat poem, and I'm trying to get him on here. I'm trying to get him to commit to coming up and doing it. But he's busy. But come on, Kyle. That's his name. Kyle. Yeah. I was not going to. You were confused.
First.
Yeah.
I always tell people I was the proto Kyle because I'm the oldest Kyle anyone knows.
I just
am
think
the
it's
oldest
funny
Kyle.
that you're one of the people that have become a
proto-Kyle.
meme now.
Right?
The whole
and especially like for
monster
somebody that loses their
drinking.
shit and punches holes in
Yeah,
drywall.
yeah.
I've never harmed any drywall.
Yeah.
And the
People,
Monster Energy
yes.
drink and stuff.
Drywall, no.
Right? Like
I mean, there was the one time you were bashing the guy's head through the drywall, but that was completely about the guy.
I don't believe in harming inanimate objects. Yeah, that whole meme thing. But then every once in a while, I find one that I actually do think is funny. I had a friend message me, or actually he called me like 10 o'clock, which is old for me which is late for me because I'm old.
Oh, me too.
And he's like, hey, he's like, I don't like to post much stuff because my family is weird, and and he's like, so I sent you this, and it was a pretty funny one, so I posted it. But he started the whole conversation with, I think you as a Kyle get a bad rap from these memes, but this is awesome.
Yeah.
But I do tell people that I am the first Kyle, and I think I'm the oldest Kyle that anyone knows.
I like the proto Kyle.
Yeah.
It's like the proto molecule. The proto Kyle. I got it. Cool. So what who do we have next week?
Danny Sargent. He doesn't know yet, but we're gonna have him.
Okay.
And then after him, we're gonna do. We've got Tony Brown.
Okay, Tony's gonna do the next week.
Yeah, at least that's the
great.
plan right now.
Okay.
Tony's,
And then we're going to
Enterprises.
Fulton
Busy.
Brewery in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do something with the podcast. Probably not gonna do a live one there, but we're gonna do something about it. So
We're gonna go undercover and expose how fucking awesome that brewery is.
that's a good way to say it. Cool. Anything else from you, Abby?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, when you get this book like closer to done, you're gonna have to come back on.
Yes.
I will.
And promote
I'll
it.
plug my book. Absolutely.
Please
And,
come here before you go on Oprah.
Is Oprah even a thing anymore?
Oh yeah,
I don't
so
know.
no,
I
that's
don't
the
think
thing.
it is.
That was what her post was. Sorry, back to the Amanda post. It was something about making fun of fucking the GOP and Oprah Winfrey. Joe Rogan making fun of the GOP and Oprah Winfrey. I mean, I think Oprah's cool and all, but like it's pretty easy to make fun of her.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
like she kind of makes fun of herself. Like
Yeah.
she's whatever. So I don't know but I'm just a little mad about it. Making fun of my boy. All right, cool. Anything else?
No, thanks for having me on, guys.
You
This
are
was
welcome.
Great.
Thanks for coming. That was
I
really
appreciate
fun.
it.
Awesome.
That's fun.
Adopt, don't shop. Applies to kids too.
November's abortion month.
Abort, don't snort.
If you snort, abort.
That's not a bad logo.
Hey, I'm
Just
good at
swallow. That's the easiest way to take care of this.
Snap! And we're out. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the podcast this week. That was sure a fun one with Abby. So today, the song that I'm going to take you out with is actually a song that Abby just turned me on to. It's by a band called Angry Waters out of Mankato, Minnesota, and this song is called Destined for the Dirt. Abby's always had a interesting taste in music. She was actually one of the people that early on turned me on to Drew Peterson and 40 Watt Bulb. So this is another one of her picks. So check it out. Thanks. See you next time.